I am Tony Chok from Sun Regency Reality, joining the AMLA E-Invoicing meeting. Hi, Mr. Tan.
Hi welcome to the talk. I think we are slowly not registering. We are slowly waiting for them to come in. So bear with us for a while. We'll start probably in a couple of minutes while people are keep logging in, because we expect about 300 people today who registered. So bear with us for a while.
Mr. Tan, can you hear me again?
Yes, Anwar, boleh. We can hear you, Anwar.
Tadi ada exit tadi. Sorry. Respect.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Just put a thumbs up, or or you can just
Yes.
chat box. Okay, good. Okay, I think time is 2:05 now. Welcome everyone. I think we have people still logging in. Hi, I see people. Yeah, I saw Aaron, Brandon, Connie Chan, Damon Uy, Eric Yan, Dylan, Feli Ng, Hariharan. We have a handphone also, Honor NX1. Husaini, James Tan, I think Jasmine, Joe Wong, Jordan Tan, who else? I think Kupusami is here. So Chai Ling, Louis Liu, Mei Chu, Michael Chong, Natasha, Norasni, Noro Akila, Sarah, Zafwan, Saraswati. Okay, good. Leong Sok Peng, good to see you here. Stephanie,
Okay, we now know it's 55,400 for the G class.
yeah. I hope you all can mute your mic lah. We don't want to hear what things your secret things you all say. Okay. Anyway, okay. I think we have about 80 odd people. We expect about 280 people registered. So yeah, we just wait for a while. I think we are all Malaysian. We expect you guys expect us to start late. We guys expect you to come in late. So both also late lah. Then end up we start late lah. Let's hope yeah, people are all coming in. We will start once we reach the 100 mark lah. Now we have 85, 86. Okay, I think let me see. Okay. We have our speaker here already. I think yeah, Mr. Anwar is here. Our speaker Mark Leow is also here. Okay, let me see. Are there people still in the waiting room or not? Oops. Yeah, okay, good. Louis, Syukur, Kamarul Zaman, Wilson, Tom Lee, SG Chin. Okay, welcome, welcome. Let me see. Okay, Anwar, you are ready? Anwar, boleh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
I think I will start to introduce you lah. I think it's already 2:10. I think let us what do you call, let us get things running. Okay, anyway, good afternoon everyone, boys and girls. First of all, welcome to MIEA Let's Talk Real Estate session. For those of you who know me, or those of you who do not know me, my name is Kian An. You can call me Tan if you want. That's my surname. Let me mute some of them. Okay, I'm the president of MIEA, Malaysian Institute of Estate Agent, and I think today's session, Let's Talk Real Estate, is one of the initiative by MIEA for a long time. And I think this Let's Talk Real Estate is basically one of the membership benefits. So if you are a member of MIEA, every month we will have a session, Let's Talk Real Estate, whether it's going to be online or whether it's going to be in physical, our head office in PJ. We try to do more online sessions so that we can reach out our friends in other part of Malaysia, in Sabah, Sarawak, Penang, East Coast, Kota Baru, Pahang, Terengganu, or even Johor, so that you don't have to travel all the way to KL just to attend this. So we can reach out to you more, so that as a member, you are also getting some of the sessions that all of us can enjoy. So in today's session, I think we have a very, I would say, very important and significant topic. And I'm very happy and I'm very thankful that we have a representative from 4 different organization and also government agencies here to share with us on today's topic, compliance in AMLA and e-invoicing. I think most of us know here, whether you're a principal or whether you're a negotiator or PEA, AMLA has been there for a long time. And we as real estate agents are one of the sector that need to be compliance with this AMLA. And I hope, guys, everyone of you can take it seriously, because AMLA, MACC, or even ABAC, anti-bribery and anti-corruption thing is very highly scrutinized in our industry. So that's why we have Bank Negara here. People from Bank Negara, Mr. Anwar is here to share with us on the what are the importance of this AMLA. Then of course we have Hello Chat here as well. Mr. Mark, who is later on going to share with us how can you utilize this Hello Chat to do your customers background check, and how is it going to be compliance in AMLA. And the other second sector is e-invoicing. I think you all know in last year's budget, the Prime Minister has also mentioned something about the e-invoicing that need to be compliant this year, and how this going to affect real estate industry. So we have people from LHDN, IRB, Mohammad Hafiz will be sharing with us what is this about, how is it going to implement all this thing. And lastly, we have Ms. Kong, which is from our Chartered Accountant, Adrian Yeo. She'll be sharing with us what are the things we need to do for e-invoicing. So all these sessions are important sessions, and we and MIEA are doing it for free for all our members. So something that hopefully our members here can benefit from this session. Okay, without further ado, I think we have about 100 people in already. Let's start off with our first speaker today, which is our representative from Bank Negara, Encik Mohammad Anwar Abu Bakar. Let me just have a short introduction of him. I think he's already in here. Of course, he's from Bank Negara. He's an analyst, right? Do a lot of analysis on this at this what we call designated non-financial business and profession, DNFBP division. And also he's a financial intelligence and enforcement department, right? This division falls under the financial intelligence and enforcement department of Bank Negara, which regulates and supervises the implementation and compliance of these DNFPs in terms of the anti-money laundering and counter financing of terrorism, the one that you see AML CFT requirements. So he's the right person to share with us what are the things that we need to comply, what are the things that we need to implement. And just a little bit of his background, he has 18 years of experience serving in Bank Negara. Sorry, can you all mute the mic? Hopefully you all can mute the mic. Okay, Mr. Anwar has 18 years experience as a supervisor and an investigation officer, IO, in a different department within Bank Negara, including the IT and development financial institutions, or DFI supervision, bank financial institution supervision, special investigation unit, and various positions as a bank examiner, analysis, and investigation officer in investigation division in terms of financial intelligence and enforcement department, focusing on AMLA and predicated offenses. So he's very well versed in all these things, right? So he has a lot of experience, 18 years experience in this, and he's currently overseeing the effectiveness and supervision and enforcement of the AMLA compliance for this non-business financial business and professions division. Of course, before this, he was in a telco industry for 4 years, and also as a software engineer background, right? Of course, as a academic qualification, he holds a degree in information system management in information studies from UiTM, University Technology Mara. So he has an extensive background in IT and also enforcement of this AMLA thing. So without further ado, Mr. Anwar, I will pass the session to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. You can hear me, right? Okay. Maybe Wailing, can you share this slide?
Oh yeah, I also want to extend MIEA's thank to all these 4 speakers for willing to share, spend their time here sharing with us. Okay, Anwar.
Okay, all right, thank you. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Okay, my name is as what has been mentioned by Mr. Tan. My name is Mohammad Anwar, and today we will be discussing on the key ML safety requirements through the 7 easy to follow step-by-step explanation. So before that, just to give you some the background. What do these cases have in common? If you look at number one, it is related to money laundering cases such as illicit fund from corruption, illicit wealth using shell companies as fund. So this from what you can see from the header, also from the just some bit of news there. It involves real estate professionals, such as either negotiators or real estate agent, and also involve some lawyers. So can you go to the next slide? All right. So in Malaysia, there's a comprehensive ML safety framework for prevention of money laundering and terrorism financing activities that have been established since 2001. So there are 4 we can call pillars there. First is legal framework, then the domestic and international cooperation, the competitive measures, and the last one is preventive measures, which involve with this reputation where the real estate agents are part of the RI lah. Right? Can we go for the next one? Next slide. All right. So this slide highlights what is applicable to reporting institution under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing, and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, or in short, we call it as AMLA, which came into force 2002. So what Mr. Tan mentioned just now, actually AMLA have been here for quite a long time since 2002. By way of such legislation, Part 4 of the AMLA is invoked on RI or reporting institutions listed under the first schedule incrementally. The first stage of invocation, right? The first stage of invocation involves several provisions under the Part 4 of AMLA. For example, Section 14B on reporting of suspicious transaction, Section 20 on secrecy of reader, and Section 24 on protection for persons reporting suspicious transaction to enable the reporting institution to detect and report suspicious transaction. And the rest of the provision under Part 4 of the AMLA will invoke generally with a time gap of about years. As you will note, AMLA or the main law provides several broad principles or expectations, and hence more details to explain or operationalize the requirements that are provided in the policy document issued pursuant to AMLA. For your information, the revised policy document came into force in January 2020, and the latest one just been issued on last 5th February and have been active since 6 February. The latest updates on the PD, as I mentioned, have been issued on February on the revised PD, which is called Policy Document on Anti-Money Laundering, Countering Financing of Terrorism, Countering Proliferation Financing, and Targeted Financial Sanctions for designated non-financial business and professions and non-bank financial institutions. So in short, the name is AML/CFT/CPF and TFS for the NVPs and NVFIs. In short, we call it as a policy document lah, right? So as I mentioned, the latest one is being enforced since yesterday. So if you have subscribed to our, we call it ML Safety newsletter, you should have been notified of this event lah. And you can access the revised PD from Bank Negara website. If you go to the Bank Negara website, then you can go under the regulations and standards and guidelines to get the latest revised PD lah. Right. So you may refer to paragraph 3.3 in the policy document for more information on the applicability of AMLA, its subsidies legislation and the policy document on respective DNVP and NVF sector. But then for today, we just touch on this registered real estate. Next, we also from time to time issue circular pursuant section 80 of the AMLA, and finally guidance and other documents that have been issued in the past. There is one of it that have been issued is the guidance on the verification of individual customers for customers due diligence and guidance on beneficial ownership. In addition, we also have issued frequent asked question, which is compilation of question, and these guidance have been issued in 2020. Can we go to the next slide? All right. So slide number 5. Can we go the previous one? All right. So this slide shows the inclusion of RIs under AMLA since 2002. It starts with the FI sector, then together with the NBFI. From here, you can see for the RA sector, this slide is alright. So this slide representation act as a first line of defense to prevent this money laundering and terrorism finance related activities. So from here, that's why we say for you as to be an RI, you need to know your customer, because you are the what we call it as the first line of defense lah. In helping Bank Negara in to get this information, right? Can you go to the next slide? Right. So this slide provides an overall ecosystem on the MSFT reporting obligation under AMLA and the MSFT and TFS for the MVP and MF policy document, which are divided into 2 parts. The first part is the MSFT compliance program, covering compliance function for the appointment of, if you look at the left side from the screen, the first part is the MSFT compliance program, covering compliance functions or the appointment of compliance officer, the policies, the procedures and control that must be put in place, and also the role of the board and senior management, training of employees, the provision of MSFT training, and the undertaking of MSFT independent audit. You will see that comments program is governance or infrastructure setting in nature, which supports the implementation of the second part. The key, the second part is on your right side of the screen. The key MSFT requirement covering what you need to do when engaging in a transaction with your customer or client. That is the topic that we'll be focusing lah today. So the second part, the focus for the webinar, the key MSFT requirement covers customer due diligence, enhanced due diligence, ongoing due diligence, terrorism financing, prohibition financing, and other sanction screening mechanism, risk profiling at the customer institution level, and reporting of suspicious transaction, and finally record keeping and management of information system. All right. So can we go to the next slide? So to further assist in implementation of this requirement, Bank Negara Malaysia have issued a simplified guide on key MSFT requirement. This was issued in 2018. Basically, this guide highlights the key selling points to help you comply, to protect yourself and your firm in 7 easy steps to follow step-by-step explanation. In today's discussion, we will go through each of the 7 steps in more detail and what you need to do to comply with this key MSFT requirement. Next slide. So with this brief overview, let's now move on to discuss the first step of the KML safety requirement, which is the customer due diligence, or we call it as a CDD, or some of you may know it as a KYC, know your client, right? Now, an effective CDD is the cornerstone of a robust AML safety compliance program. So what is CDD and why we need to conduct CDD? So CDD is a process of identifying and verifying the identity of your customer, persons conducting transaction, and the beneficial owner, which eventually enables assessment of the MLTF risk, the money laundering and terrorism financing risk. In other words, you need to know who you engage with or provide your services to, so that unknowingly be abused to facilitate criminal activities. So when actually you need to do this CDD for a new customer, when you establish a business relations, or when you carry out transaction of specified activities, or some, for other sector, they do have these activities or certain amount of threshold. That is for other sector, but for the real estate, for the REA, just for specified activities. Later I'll be explaining on. So this depends very much on the applicability of the ML safety requirement on your respective sector. So for more details, you may refer to para 3.3 and 14A to 14, paragraph 14E on the policy document to read more on the duty. This is for other sector lah, and also including your sector. So or when there is a suspicion of money laundering and terrorism financing, and this is regardless of amount and transaction. So for new customer, what I just mentioned just now is when you establish a business relation, and also when you carry out transaction of specified activity, or when there is a suspicion of MLTF regardless of amount and transaction, then you need to conduct your CDD. So for instance, whenever you are bonded customer and the exchange value is less than sector suspecting ratio, this is not required lah, but then this is just for other sector lah. So for existing customer, you need to identify and verify the customer identity on the basis of materiality and risk, and this refers to customers onboarded before the CDD requirement. Or when there is a suspicion of money laundering or terrorism financing, or there is a doubt on information that you had previously obtained from your customer or client. So let's say if you have this information, the previous information, but it doesn't match with the new information that you got from your existing customer, then you need to do a CDD on this existing customer. Right? And how to conduct the CDD? CDD is the process of identifying and verifying the identity of the customer. To identify it means to determine who is the customer, the person conducting the transaction, and also the beneficial owner, or we call it SBO. And to verify, it means to verify the customer identity using reliable, independent source document, data, or information. So how you identify the client? The policy document requires reporting institution to obtain certain information on the client. For individual, you need to obtain 9 data points. That is name, NRIC, the passport number, the address, date of birth, nationality, occupation, type, name of employer or nature of self-employment, nature of business, contact number, and purpose of transaction. And for companies, you need to identify your client by having information about the company or business. For instance, company or business name, registration number, address, nature of business, the directors, and beneficial owner details. Having identified, the next thing to do is to verify the client's identity. So for individual client, what you need to do to verify, you only need to verify the name, IC or passport number, address, and date of birth, nationality. So basically, if you manage to get the DIC, then there is a verification process that you have conducted lah. Why you need to verify? The objective is that you must be satisfied that you are dealing or engaging with a person who he or she claims to be. Right? So for this slide, this is the customer due diligence for the REA. As I mentioned, when you need to conduct your CDD is when you establish a business relations with the client, you need to conduct CDD on both parties to a property or sale purchase or tenancy transaction. So you need to have information on the purchaser and the seller, or landlord and tenant. But then in cases of co-agency or co-broking transaction where each party, because there's a two scenario lah for the co-agency and co-broking transaction, what you can see from the slide. So when each party is represented by the by the REA for co-broking, then you just conduct the CD on your client only. Either you are representing the vendor or landlord, dan REA one just do the CD on your client, on those client. Or REA 2 is representing either buyer or tenant, then the REA need to do CDD just for that client only. But if one party is not represented by the REA, then you need to conduct for both client lah. So if you are representing for the vendor and landlord, but then the buyer or tenant is not being represented, then you need to conduct also CDD for the buyer and tenant. Alright. So for next. Alright. So let's now have a look on how to verify your customers, individual or legal person, or legal arrangement. Right. So first we discuss on the individual customer. So the personal document provides principle-based requirement that offer flexibility to reporting institution to verify your customer or beneficial owner identity by using either documents or electronic data or a combination. This to cater to technology advancement and to overcome practical implementation challenges. So what are some examples of the data that can be used for verification? Example of photographic identification documentation. There is official identification document issued by the Malaysian government. This includes NIC, my Tentera, my PR, my CAS, or valid Malaysian passport, valid driving license with photograph for Malaysians, valid foreign passport or visa for foreigners. But this does not stop you from continuing with the current practice of citing and maintaining the photocopy of NIC lah. So the use of non-photographic identification documents, which include official identification document issued by Malaysian government containing some or all of the data needed for identity verification, but this must be supplemented with supporting documents. For example, current statements of pen license and incorporated in Malaysia, or current utility bills or documents of municipal council. So meanwhile, this electronic data refers to biometric identification and data produced by organization that maintains reliable and independent electronic data to verify customer identity. Please note that in any case, the representation must be satisfied on the veracity and reliability of the data source, and also must be certified that the customer is who the customer claims to be. Okay. So we often receive questions on whether the representation need to keep a copy of the document. You need for record keeping, you need to keep the copy of the document used to verify and identify of the customer, right? In 1st September 2020, Bank Negara Malaysia had issued guidance on the verification of individual customer for CDD and guidance on beneficial ownership lah. So this document you can be found in our MSFT microsite. This later I'll be sharing the links with the MIEA lah for you to have a look there. Can we go to the next slide? Right. So verifying legal person and legal arrangement, this is slightly more complex than individual. So verification of the identity of the company or business so you get the relevant documents that can verify the company institution or existence. However, it does not stop there. You also need identify and take reasonable measures to verify the beneficial owners. What we mean by beneficial owners, this refers to any natural person who ultimately owns or control the company, business, or legal arrangement. The reason why it is important for you as a reporting institution to conduct proper CDD on the beneficial owner, which include identification and verification, is because more often than not, criminals hide behind a company, trust, or legal arrangement to obscure their identity when conducting business transaction with you. Please note that the identification of beneficial owner and verification is to be undertaken in a cascading manner. Right? So to identify and verify the beneficial owner, you need to first ascertain the identity of the natural person who ultimately has a controlling ownership interest in the legal person or company or business. I mean, legal person, when we're referring to legal person, is referring to the company lah. Right? For example, minutes of meeting to ascertain if there are other people who are actually controlling the legal person. But if you are still not able to identify any such natural person with controlling interest, then you need to identify and verify the identity of the natural person who holds the senior management position. So this is to be conducted in a cascading manner. If you look up in the slide, if you on the legal person identity and take reasonable measures to verify the identity of BO under item A. Once you do A, but no one fit the definition, then you try per B lah. If none, then only you move to C. And on top of that, there may be circumstances where the company will appoint an authorized person to deal with your firm. So for this, you need to identify and verify the authorized person by way of letter of authority or resolution. Under normal circumstances, the directors are legally authorized to represent the company or business, which you will already be able to ascertain by looking at the director's resolution. But this is in the case of where the company may appoint a chief financial officer, perhaps to engage with your firm. Right? So under this scenario, you need to obtain the letter of authority and the resolution which affirms such appointment. So for legal arrangement, you need to identify and take reasonable measures to verify the identity of basically all parties of to the trust and the settlor, trustee, protector, beneficiary of class of beneficiaries. As mentioned earlier, on 1st September 2020, Bank Negara also have issued guidance on beneficial ownership to further explain what we mean by BO lah. What are the steps and numerous examples in identifying the BO for legal person and legal arrangement. Can we go to the next? So this is a sample of a CDD form. But this is from the old policy document. For the new policy document, there have been some updates to the CDD form. But this is just a sample as a guidance for you. You can use it whenever you conduct KYC on your customer lah. Alright. Can go to the next slide. Alright. So this is under the new revised. This is under the revised policy document that have been issued this week. So inside the revised policy document, we do have this notice to customer is to help you. This notice to customer is for the REA sector. So what you can do is you can put up this notice at your office or whenever you meet with your client when you're going to onboard your client. So for them to let them know actually there's a CDD requirement under the AMLA that to be conducted to your client, either purchaser or seller or landlord or tenant. So for them to produce the identification document to you before they can proceed making the transaction. So it's in dual language, either in English and also in Bahasa. This will be inside the revised policy document. Right? Can we go to the next? So this is just to share with you. Last year, enforcement action have been taken by Bank Negara Malaysia against our regulators and our licenses lah. You can look at the nature of offence. The failure is to identify and verify the BO, and also failure to conduct CDD. This is some of the action that have been taken lah. So yeah, this bear in mind lah. Alright. Next. So this is just to share with you. Last year, enforcement action have been taken by Bank Negara Malaysia against our licenses and our licenses lah. You can look at the nature of offence. The failure is to identify and verify the BO, and also failure to conduct CDD. This is some of the action that have been taken lah. So yeah, this bear in mind lah. Alright. Next. Alright. So let's move on the second step. After you have known who your customer is through the CDD, through the customer due diligence, then the first step 2 is wish to screen all your clients or customer. Please be informed that this is an absolute requirement and not risk-based. So you cannot onboard any person or entity that has been listed under the sanction list. This bear in mind, right? So sanction list includes the domestic list by the Ministry of Home Affairs, or we call it Mohd, or the United Nations list for terrorism financing, proliferation financing, and also other UN sanctions regime. So in the policy document, there's a link to all the required sanction lists for your information. So as part of your onboarding process, you are required to screen by first maintain and updating the sanction list. Next, for your new customer, you do screen them against those sanction lists, and also on your existing customer, your sanction lists are updated, right? In a situation where there's a name match, please ensure that is a positive name match. As you are aware, some names can be quite common, hence you may want to refer to other identifiers available in the sanction list, such as the date of birth, address, nationality, to confirm the identity of your customers against the sanction list. So this is yang pentingnya, because when you have those 9 data points for you to have an exact positive name match, correct? Right. So alright. So what if there's positive name match as a robotic agent? What you should do or respond to the event of name match. So there are 2 things you need to remember. First, you need to freeze or block the fund. And secondly, you are not allowed to onboard the customer. For funds that have been deposited into firm client account, for instance, in the case of for the REA sector also, you are required to hold or freeze the funds in the firm's client's account until the listing. Also, no dealing with the fund is allowed. This includes transfer of funds to register of unclaimed monies. Right? So you need to hold it. Right? Next, you need to submit you need to submit suspicious transaction report to Bank Negara Malaysia, including if it is an attempted transaction. So besides that, you need to submit the determination report to Bank Negara Malaysia upon determination, and also periodically, if there is a positive name match, the template can be obtained inside our policy document and also in our administrative site. So can you go to next slide? Alright, so this is how you can this is how you need you do your screening lah. You can go to this website, or you this is Bank Negara punya website. Under this sanctions to PF other sanctions. So inside there will be a list of where you can find the sanction list lah. Alright. So next. So from that list, they have a few selection of list. You have the UNSCR list and also the Mohd list. So for Mohd list, once you click it, then you will go to this web page, and from here you click to see the list of their format. Next. Next. Right. So this is under the Mohd list. Is in the PDF format. What you can do is you can do the searches from that one based on the CDD information that you have on those customers. Right. So once you put in the information as name, then you can compare based on the date of birth, based on their nationality, number of passport, the NIC number, and the address. Alright, next. So besides the Mohd list, we have also the UNSCR list. So UNSCR list, if you remember, there's a 4 list there under terrorism and also proliferation list. But if you can Google it, you can have this I call it as United Nations Security Council consolidated list. So this consolidated list is they consolidate all the 4 lists into one list. All right. Next. So the same thing also when you do the screening when put your customer's name, then all the information with regard on this customer detail will be there. So please make sure that when you do your screening, it's a positive match for all of those identifiers lah. Right? So next. All right. So from the revised policy document under para 23 para 23 sub 4 and sub 6, reporting institution shall maintain the records of the sanction screening conducted and make such records available to competent authority or supervisory authority upon request. So this is the sample on the sanction screening punya sanction screening form when you do your screen on your customer. So if a negative match, then you just tick the negative match, and you need to put the date when you do those screening, and also you need to file it according to the new to the right PD. You need to file it once let's say if we came to your firm to do our examination, then when we request those information, then you need to provide, right? So if it's a positive name match based on all the identifiers that you have on those customer, then you need to put based on this sample of form, you can see there's action lah on actually what you need to do once you do this and you have a positive name match. Either you need to freeze the customer fund or to reject if a potential customer. Then you need to submit SCR and also to report to PD and also to the federal police, right? Next. So this is the action that have been taken by Bank Negara Malaysia on session screening related offences lah, right? You can go to next. All right. So you can see there if failure to conduct session screening on the names of each customer, then you can see the decision that involved and also what action have been taken lah. This is the action that have been taken in 2023 and 2022, right? So please bear in mind lah. All right. Next. So this is under step 3. So where you need to conduct risk profiling on your customer. If you look at the process flow on what you need to do, the first step is for you to do your KYC on your client or you do the CDD, and second step is for you to do the screening, and the third is for you to risk profile your customer lah. Right? So based on our observation as the MSFT supervisor, we have seen that quite a number of RI have not implemented this requirement. So for your information, this profiling is important for you to apply the right mechanism, right CDD, by asking the relevant question and monitoring of your customer transaction, which can assist you to pick up anomalies of the transactions involving the higher risk customer. So when actually you need to conduct this CRP, customer profiling, you need to conduct on all your new customer after you have done step 1 on CDD and step 2 on screening, as well as on your existing customer as part of ongoing monitoring. What are the steps needed in conducting the customer risk profiling? First, you need to determine the risk parameter for each risk factor. Example of risk factors are client, product or services, geographical location, and delivery channels. So we will discuss in detail on the risk factor in the next later. So then you need to assign risk rating for each of your customer, whether they are high, medium, or low risk. Some of the RI that we have been for examination, they do have only just two type of list rating, either high or low. Alright, that can also be taken into your name. So once you have assessed and assigned the risk rating to your customer, you are able to apply the appropriate risk management and mitigation control measures that are proportionate to your risk profile. For instance, for high risk customer, you need to apply different treatment. So the different treatment here refers to enhanced due diligence and the need for you to scrutinize the transactions. Please also note that if your customer is rated as high risk, it doesn't mean that you need to stop dealing or terminate relationship with them, but instead apply the risk-based approach. Right. Next slide. All right. So this is what I have been mentioned earlier about the 4 risk factors that you may consider in conducting customer risk filing. First, you on the type of customers you are dealing with, you need to consider the type of customer, whether they are individual, corporate, or trust. Their social status, politically exposed person, or related to one or high net worth individuals, or has large and complex business structure, as well as whether your customer is related to any adverse news, or they are under investigation, or have criminal records. So the next risk factor is geographical location. So you need to consider the country or of origin for your customer. If it is a business, where the business was set up, are they set up or came from higher risk jurisdiction or country on sanction list, for instance. Third factor is product and services. So whether the value of sanction commensurate with the profile of your customer, or is it cash intensive, or whether it is simple or complex. So lastly, you look at what are the transaction or delivery channel, whether your customers avoid face-to-face transaction, or whether the transaction conducted involve agents or unknown third party. So by looking into these 4 factors, you would be able to assess whether your customer is of a higher risk or otherwise. Please be reminded that it's really up to the firm to customize the risk parameters to suit your business activities. For certain sectors, usage of agent is normal. I mean, for real estate, you have your own agent, you have your own negotiator. So hence you wouldn't set it as a high lah. So while for certain sector, usage of agent or intermediaries is in converting transaction is unusual or uncommon. So hence you would then rate as a high risk. So still you need to customize lah on how you going to risk profile your customer. Right. Next slide. So this is the sample of the CIP form. This is just as a guidance. So you can look at we put the customer's risk, what are the risk related to the customer. Then on the risk, the product business risk, and then for product services, and for the RA, it would be just 2, but then maybe the type of let's say kalau property, maybe the type of property. So you can differentiate between what are the high risk and the low risk property. On product itself, either purchase and also on the tenancy, it could be a tenancy is low risk. So it depends on your on the how you rate your product. Then overall, then you have this overall risk assessment on based on those 4 factors. Maybe for ABCD you have too high and too low, so you need to make adjustment lah on whether you want to put this assessment as a high risk or is under medium or low risk, right? So once you have determined the customers of having higher risk, so you would then need to conduct step 4. This is step 4, which is enhanced due diligence, or we call it EDD in short, whereby you need to inquire more information from your customer. You are required to ask for their source of funds or source of wealth. Besides that, you are also required to seek approval from your senior management before continuing the business relationship with the higher risk customer. So for your information, there are number of conditions where EDD is automatically applies. So the conditions are when you are dealing with previous one, the previous slide. Okay, so when you are dealing with foreign political exposed person, we call it foreign PEP. So it's automatically considered as you need to do EDD whenever you have this type of customer. So when you dealing with a person from countries identified by the FATF as having ongoing or substantial ML activities, and also when you provide nominee services to your customer, this is apa for this is for the lawyer sector lah, right? So lastly, when you determine through a customer falling, your customer is posing higher MLTF risk. Okay. So next slide. Right. So we commonly receive a question on how do the potential obtain additional information when conducting step 4. So whenever you rated your customer as higher risk customer, then you need to do EDD. Then how you are going, you need on how you going to do this enhanced due diligence lah. So based on this slide, there are a number of suggestions that you may want to adopt. First, through self-declaration, you may ask your customer to complete their application form or CDD form, where you have this information on about their source of fund or source of wealth. Or next, you can also have a casual chat to get more information from your customers. You do not need to verify. You can just have normal the question or no, just normal chat with those customers lah to get those information. Besides that, you may also conduct your own research, such as via open source search, professional third-party providers, and trusted intermediaries. I would like to remind here that you don't need to conduct EDD or ask for source of wealth and source of fund on all your customers. It's just for your higher risk customer. Yeah. All right. Next slide. All right. So this is the type of PEP and related to PEP lah. So when we say PEP is a political exposed person, as I mentioned, for foreign PEP is automatic they are already rated as higher risk customer, then you need to do this enhanced due diligence lah. For domestic PEP, then the firm need to do the assessment whether you rated the client as a higher risk or as a low risk lah. So it depends on your form assessment. And also for international organization is automatic as related as higher risk customer lah. So some example is for foreign and domestic PEP, head of state or government, senior politicians, senior government, judicial or military officials, senior executive of state-owned corporations, and important political party officials. So they are considered sebagai PEP. So this international organization is members of senior management, directors, deputy directors, and members of the board or equivalent functions. PEP do not include middle ranking or junior level individuals. And also, one thing about related to PEP is also applicable to family members or close associate of all type of PEPs. Right? So as I mentioned, the definition may refer to any of the following sources. If you want to have information on this PEP, either you have this in-house database or commercial database, or this information or guidance checked by the competent authorities, supervisory or regulatory authorities, or you can do search from public or open source information. And also, as I mentioned earlier, is through the customer self-declaration. Next. Right. So this is type of countries that is related to for the enhanced due diligence. As I mentioned, for countries that is under the blacklist, then they are automatically rated as higher risk client lah. For this three country lah, the North Korea atau Democratic Republic of Korea, Iran, and also Myanmar. Myanmar have been list inside the blacklist since October 2022. Right? For grey list, it's up to the firm lah to do the assessment lah whether you going to rate your client as high risk or not. And this is the country that ni lah, right? Next. Right. So this is the sample that is available inside the policy document, where you can see for the EDD, the name of the customer order PEP, their role, and apa the information that apa you need to get, the source of fund or source of wealth, any additional information on the customer or the BO, and then apa for once apa you got the information, you need to apa request apa the approval from apa your senior management lah, whether you can apa liaise or not with this apa customer, right? And this apa you need apa to put it in court lah. Next. Alright. So under step 5, which is apa to report suspicious transaction report, or we call it as STR. STR is the form or information that must be submitted when reporting institution have suspicion that customer is involved in money laundering, terrorism financing, or other serious crimes under the second schedule of the AMLA. This includes among others suspected corruption, fraud, drug trafficking, identity theft, terrorist act, and others. Submission of STR also signals the robust and sound functioning of a firm's MSFT compliance program. So when upper RI put in place necessary requirements such as upper robust customer due diligence and customer reprofiling processes, the reporting institution is more likely to pick up suspicious transactions and put necessary control to prevent yourself from being abused by money launderers and terrorist financiers. So you can identify or detect suspicion as part of during step 1, the CDD, customer due diligence, or step 3, customer risk profiling, step 4, enhanced due diligence, and ongoing due diligence process, and also when conducting transaction lah. So when do you need to submit SR? As per the policy document, generally reporting institution is required to submit SR to Bank Negara Malaysia when a transaction, including attempted or proposed, regardless of the amount, appears unusual, has no clear economic purposes, appears illegal or involve proceeds from illegal activities of all instrumentalities of an offence, or indicates that the customer is involved in money laundering or terrorism financing. So do remember that submission of SR is only in the event of suspicions and not for all customers. However, the rule of thumb is if you are in doubt, submit STR, right? Next. So how to recognize a suspicious transaction? In short, there are 4 key steps to identify or detect suspicion. The acronym is a same approach lah, right? So step number 1 is screen. You need to screen your customer's transaction for any suspicion based on the established internal red flags. In the policy document, we provide generic and also sector-specific red flags for you to refer to. You may refer to the example provided and customize the red flags to suit your business operation. So there's a generic and specific red flags for the area sector lah. That's just as a guidance lah. So step number 2, ask the customers appropriate questions to obtain relevant information to identify suspicion. Step number 3 is find. So once you have obtained the required information or documents, then find out the customer record based on the review of already known or available information. For example, occupation, to assess whether it commensurate with the transaction being undertaken. So the last step is the compliance officer must evaluate the grounds of suspicion, and once suspicion is confirmed, the compliance officer must promptly submit the SR to Bank Negara. That is within the next working day, right? So please try to complete the SL form as much as possible and submit the SL promptly. Do remember not to disclose to anyone that your firm has submitted an SR on a person, and also not to tip off the person being reported. So we are often asked whether any protection given for reporting SR. Yes, under section 24 of the AMLA clearly provides protection on persons reporting SR from disciplinary, civil, and criminal actions, provided the SR is submitted in good faith. So, as I mentioned, if in doubt, you submit the SR and you are protected lah. But then the SR is submitted under the good faith lah, right? So next. Right. So submission of the SR form can be either online, email. Either online is either by email or in a physical letter. So for email and physical letter, you can get the STR. It's an editable PDF form from this MSFT site by downloading the form from the thing lah, right? Next. So as you can see on the side, this is an example of a SL form. Please note that the SL form is very specific to your sector. So you need to download the SL editable punya form with ada drop down punya menu. Then you need to fill up the form, especially the mandatory or required field. Then once you already fill up and you already select the answer inside the form, you need to save it, and then you submit the Excel form via email with the attachment of the Excel. Either you want to email it or you want to physically send it, then you need to print lah the form. Next slide. So as I mentioned, to report sufficient transaction, there's a 2 channel to submit the Excel form. It's either you email or you send it physically to FID, or number 2 is through a system. We call it as a financial intelligence system, FINS. This one the RI need to request access by emailing to fins@bnm.gov.my, right? So inside the Excel form tu, you need to put lah all the information required, details of subject reported, the transaction details, and the reason lah given by the RI on why you feel the conduct of the account is suspicious. Alright, next. So if you want to submit the STR, then the first thing you need to do is you need to appoint a MSFT compliance officer lah, right? So, sorry, previous. Okay, so all the participation you are required to appoint and identify your compliance officer to Bank Negara regardless of your firm size. So you need to notify Bank Negara on the appointment or change of CEO within 10 working days. The CEO at least it must have sufficient stature, authority, and authority within the RI effectively. For the RA sector, I also understood that most of the firm is a one-man show. So for firm that is a one-man show firm, then you also can appoint yourself as the compliance officer lah, right? Because the compliance officer is a reference point for all MSFT matters of the RI. So by appointing the CEO, you will also have get initiative from Bank Negara lah from time on MSFT matters. Next. Next. All right. So we are done with step 5. So let's move on to step 6, which is on record keeping and management information system. Right. So for record keeping, you need to keep a copy of all the documents used or collected in step 1 to step 5 and step 7, which we will discuss shortly lah. This include copy of your customer identification, transaction records, internally generated SCR, and others. All these records need to be kept for at least 6 years. 6 years from the date of transaction completed or terminated. Please be reminded that the documents can be either kept in hard copy or soft copy, so long as it is in a form that is admissible as evidence in court pursuant to Evidence Act of 1950. So next is under Management Information System, MIS. So it doesn't necessarily have to be digitalized or computerized. The Management Information System can also be a manual form, such as in logbook or in simple Excel spreadsheet. However, please ensure that the Management Information System adopted must communicate with nature, scale, and complexity of your business operation. So the system must also capable to aggregate customer transaction from multiple accounts or across all branches. Lastly, the system must be able to provide timely information on a regular basis. Okay, next. All right. So finally, we have arrived to step 7, whereby you need to continue monitor and update your customer information from time to time. We are ongoing due diligence. This is what we call as ongoing due diligence. Ongoing due diligence. In step 7, is where you need to repeat the step explained earlier. Once a while, you need to conduct transaction monitoring. What we mean here is that your customer is subjected to standard ongoing due diligence. Normally, this applies to low-risk customer. Then you need to scrutinize the transaction involving the customer to ensure consistency with his or her profile. Is there any change in pattern to their spending style or, for instance, okay? Meanwhile, for customer who is subjected to enhanced ongoing due diligence, since he or she is assessed as having high MLTF risk, you need to scrutinize the transaction at the frequency that commensurate with the customer risk level. You also need to select a sample or look some part of the transaction that need further examination or assessment. Besides transaction monitoring, you also need to update customer due diligence. This is important to ensure that CDD documents, data or information on the customer are kept updated, up to date and relevant, such as whether address or occupation has changed over the years. Hence, all these changes must be captured by the reporting agent through the conduct of ongoing due diligence. Please remember that the frequency of ODD or ongoing due diligence need to be conducted on each of your customer depend on the level of MLTF risk posed by the customer. So MLTF risk is based on the customer risk profiling that you have conduct those customer. So for instance, for low risk customer, you might want to conduct ODD on biannually or yearly basis only. But for high risk customer, you might want to conduct ODD for several times in a year, right? Next slide. So just to recap, this is the 7-step guide for you as a reporting agent need to comply in order to protect your firm from being abused by this MLTF risk. So step number 1, as I mentioned, is to know your clients or customers by conducting the CDD, the customer due diligence. Then after that, you need to screen you need to do session screening on your customer. Then after there's no positive match on those customers, you need to profile your customer. This is the customer is profiling. You need to do the resetting on your customer, like whether the customer is low risk or high risk customer. Then for high risk customer, then you need to inquire more. You need to ask for the source of fund or software by doing the enhanced due diligence and also you need to get approval from your senior management whether you can proceed with transaction with the customer. Then on top of once you do the CDD or session screening or risk profiling and if you feel there's a suspicion in the those dealing, then you need to submit to Bank Negara. And for step number 6, to keep to do record keeping and also to have a proper management information system right? And for step number 7 is a repeat process for you to monitor and to update back the customer information. So it's about ongoing due diligence. Next slide. Previous one. So with that, as I mentioned, we have completed our research on the key ML safety requirement via the 7 step. So for your information, the ML safety requirement or measures are put in place to protect your business from being abused by money launderers and terrorist financiers. Hence why our tagline for all of our ML safety is comply to protect. We believe that by having the right mechanism and controls, it will be harder for the criminal to use or abuse you and your business for their criminal activities. Secondly, to avoid non-compliance caused under the AMLA, as you are aware, any non-compliance to some of the AMLA requirements are subjected to penalty. For instance, non-compliance with Section 13, 14 or succeed of AMLA, you may be subjected to a fine of up to 1 million ringgit, while non-compliance with Section 17, which is one of the requirements to retain document for at least 6 years, you may be subjected to fine up to 3 million ringgit or jail up to 5 years or both. Right? So the next slide, this one, all right. So this one I just want to mention for other sectors. I think for the we call it DPMS lah, Kedemas, the dealers in precious metals and precious stones. They do have we call it compliant officer networking group. So this is just the broad concept of the MSFT compliance networking group for the NWP. The objective is to enhance compliance culture through greater understanding of MSFT requirements and instill good practices among members. So we try to collaborate with the self-regulated body for this RDA is with BOPIA, and also we do have mention I think we do have mentioned this thing to the industry association in the FVP working committee. I think MIEA is a part of it, and so with other industry association. So to create this CO networking group lah as a common platform so that act as an effective platform for members to share challenges, experience and solve problems among peers. So by having this CO networking group within the area sector, because you know your industry well, so you can have a common place for you to have your ideas in how are you going to comply with this MSFT in your sector. So this also will be a representation to represent member interest, their engagement with stakeholders, and also to for development is to facilitate education training to support effective compliance. So it is by having this compliance networking group. If there's any updates by Bank Negara, we can just put it to the CO networking group under the RDA for them to inform to their members lah. Next. So this is just an industry driven with support from Bank Negara Malaysia. The rules and responsibility is a platform for industry consultation, for policy formulation, as well as sharing of latest development of MSFT related matters, to provide technical support to help addressing compliance. Because once you have this compliance networking group, so you can have the first hand information lah for MSFT, where you can engage among yourself, and also you can engage with Bank Negara lah by having this Kong. So you can also provide support for training organized by the BVP Kong, gather access our sector specific issues too. So this is the thing that we try to set this compliance networking group, but it need to be maintained by the industry lah. Next. Oh, I think this is the last slide. Sorry. So last but not least okay. Sorry. So this is the last of position of my slide lah. We already cover the 7 steps, and also the initiative for the area sector to come up with compliance officer networking group lah. Alright. That's all from me for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Encik Anwar, for the insightful sharing. I think I hope the participants can get more detail on this thing. And I think there's one information very useful is one of the notice. I think notice to your client, so that if you want to get the KYC, I know sometimes your client are reluctant to share this, to sign or to give their information. So by showing the notice, you know that it's a requirement by Bank Negara. Then I think it makes your job easier lah. And I think it's good that you share the step 1, step 2, step 3, step by step. So at least you all have an idea what are the steps you need to do lah, right? So okay, since Encik Anwar is here, do you all have any questions you all would like to ask? Any one of you, you can unmute your mic and just speak over the microphone lah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
I'm Tony Chok from Chan Regency Agency. Encik Anwar, thank you for all the talk and the lecture. Very good session. Can you go back to your first and second slide? I missed. That's why I joined a little bit late. First slide and second slide. Is it okay?
I think Wiley.
Sorry, you have a question, is it?
Yeah, I need to look at the first and second slide. I missed the first and second slide.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So you have, can you post the first and second slide? This one is the start, right? Is it the start?
Yeah, this is the first slide. And
oh no, the second, the third slide. This is the one. This one after, because very important. This one, the legal framework. Sorry for that. I missed this. Okay. I'll go through myself. Thank you for your lecture and your very informative information on money laundering and terrorist financing. Thank you for that.
So you don't have a question, is it? You just want to look at the slide?
Yeah,
Okay. I was thinking you have a question. Okay, never mind. Okay, thanks. Anyone else have a question you would like to ask?
I mean, I can put a question to the members first lah. I think, what is the difficult thing when you want to get this let's say the first side we want for you to implement the CDD, the customer due diligence. So whenever we go to some of the firms when we do some examination, we found out some of the information is not being clearly collected lah. Macam tu kadang ada some information is not there because kalau if you look at the slide I share for the individual, we need the 9 data points. Then the 5 data points is easier because the 5 data points is already there inside the NIC. Once you receive you collect the NIC, then you can get the name, the address, the nationality, then the date of birth, because is there the NIC number. But then do you face any difficulty, or what are actually the difficulty when you want to get this information from your customer lah? What are the common things? Can you share with me?
Guys, any difficulty or whatever you all face that you think that Encik Anwar can help you all to address your difficulty? I think maybe I can just answer on their behalf. I think one of the challenge is that whenever we deal with our client, when we ask for the information about the client, they feel reluctant to give us because they said you are just an estate agent. You don't have authority to get all this private information, where is my money from, because you are just an agent. You are not from LHDN or you're not from Bank Negara. Why should I give you the information lah? I think there are some concerns, something like that. So like I said, the letter, the notice that you have, that is very helpful. I think all of you can actually print out the copy and and share among your practitioner and use that as a guide for your client and said this is something that's required by Bank Negara. I things like that. So I think that is one of the challenge we face lah, because the public pun they are not aware of such thing. Yeah. Let me see. Any other question from the chat box? No, I think maybe they all pun segan-segan lah, malu nak tanya lah.
No lah. As I mentioned earlier, with Mr. Tan, I think if you have later, if you have question, maybe you can just drop an email to MIEA. MIEA can compile it. Then
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So guys, if you have any question, you can forward to MIEA and we compile and we can address. We can take up the questions with Mr. Encik Anwar lah. Okay. If there's no further question, I would like to thank Encik Anwar. We really appreciate your time for sharing with us on this AMLA requirement, everything. And we hope that our practitioner here can benefit from the thing lah. So again, we really appreciate Encik Anwar. Just a round of applause. E-clap, kita panggil clap pun ada e-clap. E-clap to Encik Anwar, and hopefully we will continue to engage with Bank Negara lah, and make sure that we comply with all the requirements from Bank Negara lah. Like we said, we at MIEA, we are here to ensure that our members comply and follow whatever is necessary to the act and the rules lah. So that's one of we need to play our part to support this thing juga lah. So rest assured that we are here to make sure that all of the members here will comply to all these requirements lah. So thank you again, Encik Anwar, on behalf of MIEA, and thank you, Bank Negara, for this. Okay, next we have another session from Hello Check. I think Hello Check has we have done numerous sessions with Hello Check. I think those of you who don't know what is Hello Check is basically maybe later on Mark, the founder, can share with you. Basically, they can help you to do a lot of profiling and checking on your client, to find out who they are, their background, this thing. So we have here Mr. Mark Leow, the founder and managing director of Hello Check. Just a little bit introduction of himself lah. I think some of you may have met him before, or may have listened to him before, but it's okay. You can listen again. Maybe you got different story to share. So anyway, Mark is an experienced entrepreneur, and like I said, he's a founder at Hello Check, one of the leading company that specialize in e-KYC and also due diligence industry. I mean, he has more than 10 years of experience in helping organizations to meet compliance standards set by the Bank Negara and also MACC. So he knows what are the requirement by the regulatory lah, and he will advise you what are the things you need to comply. And of course, he's recognized as one of the key opinion leader in screening and verification of the industry. Of course, Mark's passion for innovation and commitment to excellence has led him to a few awards and recognition. I think that recently he was selected as a top nominee of one of the prestigious EY Ernst & Young Entrepreneur Award in year 2019 under the technology category, right? Yep. And I think that reflects his vision and leadership in his field. I think maybe if you have time, he may share with you why he came out with Hello Check. Right? I heard of his story before. I don't know whether he'll share his story again or not. But anyway, yeah, of course, in addition to that achievement, he is also a good person with a strong communication skill and in a very collaborative approach, and person with strategic thinking, right? And he also do a lot of speaking. I know sort of a speaker and thought leader, and he also contribute to a lot of publication and conference in this field. So overall, Mark has experience and entrepreneur spirit and dedication, excellence, make him a very known and valuable asset to any organization if you want to comply and drive innovation in e-KYC or due diligence. I think Mark is the right person you can talk to. So without further ado, I'll pass the session to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Kenan. I recognize some of the names here. I think I've done quite a number of sessions with MIEA. Thank you so much for bringing me back. And also, thank you, Encik Anwar. It just shows, how much commitment Bank Negara has for DNF EPS and making sure that the industry comply. Because I think it's very important to note, a lot of times, I think people in the designated non-financial business will be wondering, why do we need to do that? They don't really recognize that or understand that they're actually the first line of defense. And being first line of defense, I think we need to understand that, every layer need to do their part. So when I approach, the other industries like lawyers and accountants, they say, oh, but, the other party is already doing it. Why do I need to do it? I think they need to understand that, it's also like a water filter, right? You've got many different layers in your water filter. And that's why, we want to encourage this so that, Malaysia don't lose, our, enough, anti-money laundering is so important because there's so much money, that we're losing out here. And it's important that we maintain this safe environment for our country and our rakyat. So, for me, the passion, I'll tell you about my life story. It's a very long story. I've got a video in my YouTube, founder story. You all can check it out. But, personally in my life, I've been doing this for the last 14 years. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'll share a little bit about the company background. Let me do a screen share and start my slide. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can move this around. Okay. All right. So, Bank Negara has this thing called comply to protect. Ours is comply with confidence. Basically, we developed this about in 2020. And we felt that we want to simplify it. We've been working on the Bank Negara employment screening platform for many years. A lot of our clients come from the banking industry and insurance industry. And we noticed that a lot of times, whatever the regulator wants, when it trickle down to the other organizations, especially big organizations, they also have trouble understanding the policy because a lot of times, one policy, and I understand why the regulator wrote it that way, because there's so many different ways that the system can, the risk can move. So they need to write it in a general way. So they always say, okay, depending on your risk profile. So everybody got to do their own, critical thinking or, way of figuring things out and to see whether is there a risk here or not. So that's why when we came up with this system, Halo Check, we felt that we wanted to give people the opportunity to screen someone really quickly via their desktop or mobile phone and immediately on an instant manner, just cover the entire spectrum, from items 1 to 7 steps. Our system is so simple that we built it that way. So I'll show you how the system looked like afterwards. But basically, with this system, it covers a majority of that part. Okay. How do I do the next slide? Okay. So basically, when we've got over 1,000 agents and negotiators using our system right now, and I hear that these are just some of the challenges that they face. Number one, and that's why MIEA is doing this. A lot of them, or many of you, are also unfamiliar with the reporting rules or the regulatory requirements, and it's very confusing. That's why we built this system to actually make it simplify it. Also, the other thing that people face would be they don't understand the consequences for non-compliant. Because they will say, oh, but my client is so small, I know this person so well, or whatever it is. But I think, they don't understand the dangers out there. And because it's the compliance and regulatory compliance, you just need to screen everyone that you confront with, right? Whether it's a buyer, seller, or tenant or landlord. So I think it's very important for people to understand that, look, you just need to comply and screen, whenever you make a sale. I think over the last year, I've been going around. I even traveled to Penang with MIEA to actually share, how you can actually screen somebody. Another challenge that a lot of practitioners may not know is they don't know the latest regulation. They're not updated with it, or they don't even know, even going online and keeping up to date with all these new names that's going to go into MOHA or even KDN. And then it's not only MOHA and KDN, but if you go further on to items step 5, 6, and 7, you notice that they even have PEP. PEP is not a very common word, but it's basically politically exposed persons. Then also they talk about close associates. So to what extent this close associate is, or relatives. So a lot of times people need to keep a lot of data and because it's all over the place, right? So what we've done in the Halo Check is we've simplified everything and put it into one system so that actually whenever there's a flag, then only they make a decision. I think we want to simplify that process. The last item would be hesitant to adopt new technologies. I totally understand this. Even when I'm running my own business, whenever somebody tries to sell me a system, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is no. Unless they can show me the value in terms of, is it really helping me? So at the end of the day, technology, I think it's one of those things that, like it or not, we have to adopt it one of these days. It's just a question of when. But basically, technology is going to help us in many ways. If it's not for COVID, I don't think we've ever adopted e-wallets. And now with e-wallets and QR codes, everybody has accepted the fact that, it's so much simpler with it, right? So I think it's a matter of, biting that bullet and just accepting it, technology to assist you and see how you can actually move forward. All right. So one of the things that we've focused on with Halo Check is actually to give our customers peace of mind, to help them comply with Bank Negara's AMLA CDD all in one system. The whole system was developed so that my mother or even my child, right, a 12-year-old child can use the system. And I will share with you and show you how easy it is to actually use the system. The other reason that we developed it also, we wanted it to be very fast, very easy to download and put in the names, and a system that's very reliable. So we built a system that's, it takes only 2 minutes to actually set up, and instantly you get a result. If you want to screen somebody, right? And the third one is, I've got this, I always coin this term, local support. Local as in the Malaysian bahasa word local, because there are other systems. I understand there are other systems out there. There's Dow Jones, there's Refinitiv, World Check, there's World Compliance, all these big boys, right? I mean, they're so expensive, and it doesn't really cover all the local nuances that we have in Malaysia, because when they're dealing with a they're dealing it globally, they don't understand local nuances, and that's one of the challenges a lot of global guys don't have. And that's why when we developed this, we felt that, look, I need to serve our people here and develop something that locally is very easy to pick up, and also local support, right? So we've even built a team here to take on any calls, just WhatsApp us, email us. We've even got an ex-Bank Negara guy who will take on any questions that you have. So, to meet the local, challenges. And that's something that we have to support, our fellow DNF VPS or reporting institutions. Okay. So basically, we are a data due diligence company. We've got many, other things that we have in Halo Check. So basically, we're actually helping a lot of clients to fix their first line of defense. Whenever people use our system, a lot of them can actually use it to comply with Bank Negara requirements. Then again, the Section 17A or MACC. If you look at Section 17A, one of the requirements is use background screening. Run a background check on your vendor, supplier, or even your employees. So that's something that we have in there as well. When we work with other companies, people use it to screen their employees or gig workers. People also use it to screen their customers and tenants. vendors and suppliers, because we've got a criminal list in our system as well. And we are one of the largest data of Malaysian data. Not that we don't have international, we do have international, it's just that we are the largest in Malaysia right now. We spend a lot of time curating all this data. And these are all legally available data. So our main focus is to actually help our clients onboard people in a very affordable manner, make it very accessible to anyone and anywhere. And it's just a few clicks, on your mobile or your desktop device. Okay. A little bit about my background. I got another company, called Variety Intelligence. And I started in 2010 doing employment screening. Then we expanded to Singapore. I've got a Singapore outfit as well, focusing on employment screening. So we won several awards, and in 2019, I was top nominee for EY. And then, through pandemic, I noticed that, look, there's a lot of scams going around, and that's why I founded HaloCheck. Something that I've been very passionate about is how do I democratize screening for everybody in Malaysia? I shall share you a little bit of my why I want to democratize. Democratize means, how do I give everybody access to background screening? Because a lot of people think that background checks or background screening is only for private investigators and it's very expensive. What I want to do is I want to make it so cheap that anyone and everyone can screen somebody. So that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I started HaloCheck. Oops, let me go back. Okay, next. So in HaloCheck, for the DNF BPS or for real estate agents, there are two main things, eKYC and risk check. I shall tell you a little bit more about what we have. So basically eKYC, as you can see in section 1, is to know your customer. In section 2 is to screen your customer. That's what we use risk check for. So eKYC, I shall show you a YouTube video on how to use it. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're not sure, I've got QR codes here. You can actually take a screenshot and then watch it again. But I shall show you a video clip of how to use it.
Here's a step-by-step tutorial on how to use HaloCheck's eKYC Now for identity verification. Step 1. Go to www.halocheck.com.my. Step 2. Go to the menu on top right and click Login. Step 3. Log into your account. If you don't have an account yet, you may sign up, which will take only 2 minutes. Once you are logged into your HaloCheck account, Step 4, on the menu, click eKYC. Step 5, click Start. Step 6, select the issuing country, which is from which country the ID card or passport is issued from. In this tutorial, we are using Malaysia's NRIC, therefore we will choose Malaysia. Step 7, select document type. Is it an identity card or passport? Step 8, select verification method. For this tutorial, we will choose Now. We will also do a separate remote eKYC tutorial. Step 9, scan your document. Read the instructions properly and start scanning. Follow the instructions. First, take a photo of the front of your MyCard. Then, take a photo of the back of your MyCard. Step 10, review the details of your document. You may edit or complete any information that is missing or incorrect. Once you're done, click Confirm. Step 11, now you will need to take a selfie. Read the instructions properly before starting. When you're ready, click Start and begin taking a selfie. Step 12, once you're satisfied with the selfie, click Submit, and you're done. Your verification has been successfully submitted and will be processed in 2 business days. To check the status of your eKYC, go to eKYC on the menu bar and click Management. Here, you can see the status of your eKYC submission. Click on the arrow to see more information and to download the report for this verification. Scroll down, click on download report, and the report will be downloaded to your device. This is the example of the report. We hope this tutorial is helpful. If you need guidance on how to use other features, check out other tutorials we posted. Here's a
So, and remote eKYC is also very simple to use. Hang on, let me move this down.
for customers on how to perform the eKYC remotely after don't have an account.
I'll just move this here.
On the menu, select the issuing country, which is from which country the ID card or passport is issued from. In this tutorial, we are using Malaysia's NRIC, therefore we will choose Malaysia. Step 7, select document type. Is it an identity card or passport? Step 8, select verification method. For this tutorial, we will choose remote. We also have a separate tutorial on how to do eKYC now. Step 9, copy the link and send it to your customer for them to do the eKYC remotely. It is important to note that one link can only be used for one customer, and the eKYC link will only be valid for 24 hours. After 24 hours, if your customer hasn't done the eKYC yet, you will need to issue a new link for them. Section 2, tutorial for customers on how to perform the eKYC remotely after receiving the link. Once customers receive the eKYC remote link, there are 2 steps to follow. Step 1, take a photo of identity card or passport. Step 2, take a selfie. Here's a step-by-step guide. First, take a photo of the front and back of your identity card or passport. Once you're done, review the details of your identity card or passport. You may edit or complete any information that is missing or incorrect. Once it's done, click Confirm. Next, you will need to take a selfie. Click Start and begin taking a selfie. Once you're satisfied with the selfie, click Submit, and you're done. The eKYC remote verification has been successfully submitted and will be processed in 2 business days. To check the status of your eKYC, go to eKYC on the menu bar and click Management. Here, you can see the status of your eKYC submission. Click on the arrow to see more information and to download the report for this verification. Scroll down, click on Download Report, and the report will be downloaded to your device. This is the example of the report. We hope this tutorial is helpful. If you need guidance on how to use other features,
as you can see, it's that simple to actually run your screening. Hang on. All right. Just put it up here. So that's our remote, and if you are face-to-face with a client, you can actually take a picture in front of your client. If most of your clients are remote, you can actually send the link to your client via WhatsApp or SMS. Huh? Where am I? Okay, so I want to talk about risk check right now. Basically, risk check is step number 2, where you're actually screening the client against a database. So in our risk check, we've got Mohd, Ministry of Home Affairs, KDN, we've got UNSCR data, and a lot more other databases that we screen for, including politically exposed personnel, mostly Malaysian. I think we're proud to say that we have the most PP and RCA, or close associate data in Malaysia, and it will help most of our customers cover their checks. Okay, so how does it work? Basically, we screen against Malaysia's extensive criminal record sanctions list. It covers basically everything the Bank Negara is asking for and more, and it will definitely cover everything. The question is, what do you do with the data after that? That's why we've got internal support to actually support our clients to answer any uncertainties that they have, so they have more clarity and certainty. Okay, so basically, where we're saying that we're different, there are international players out there, international competitors, and they're one of the biggest in the world. I mean, the likes of Dow Jones, World Check, Comply Advantage. LexisNexis has another product called World Compliance. These are international products, but it doesn't cover a lot of Malaysian data that may or may not be comprehensive enough. So where we come from is we curated a lot of local data, and we made sure that we're able to have better coverage here in Malaysia. So I would say that we're Jago Kampung and not Jago Dunia. We have that's our positioning in the market, to be Jago Kampung for now. And that's how we want to market it at the moment. So, but there are benefits of being a Jago Kampung, right? So being a Jago Kampung, we're able to cover and help a lot more customers like yourselves. The international competitors, most of their biggest clients are a lot of banks and large financial institutions that can afford their very, very high subscription rates. We've recently come out with our own subscription, unlimited subscription checks. We still have our basic and our standard and our pro, but we are phasing it out already. And we realized that a lot of our clients are asking for unlimited checks. And here we are, we thought, okay, let's develop another package called the Unlimited Check. And we're running a promotion right now, for 200 ringgit. Over here, the regular subscription is 300 ringgit per month, but we're running a 200 ringgit, and you can run all the eKYC checks, all the monitoring, and all the kind of local support that you need now. And you can call us anytime, not anytime, within the hours of 9 to 5, of course. And our team will come and support you. So basically, we talk a little bit about the data that we have. We've got a lot of records over here. We've got hundreds, close to 1,000 data sets that we actually screen for. That's it. Any questions?
Okay, guys, do you have any questions for Mark? Yeah, I think I hear something.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I have one. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mark. I'm Tony Chok from
Hi,
Chan Regency. Thanks for the beautiful presentation. May I know if we do checking with you, is it a violation of PDPA if customer refuse to give and we force them to give it to us?
No, it's not, because this is the government requirement. So again, I think Encik Anwar had that notice that you actually gave. So this is where it gives you the right to actually check on your clients. So we have a system that actually picks up the data for you. And then after that, within our system, we will actually process the documents and run the checks for you. And all the data that we fetch from are legally available data. So it doesn't violate any PDPA.
Correct, but we are asking our customer to present their IC to us. In most cases, when you're dealing with customers who are on the discussion stage, they will refuse us to give any document or any IC. At least, especially IC, they feel insecure. So when is Bank Negara going to come and brief all the public about this requirement for agent to take their customer database, so that we don't face this difficult hurdle of convincing would-be customer?
Yep.
Can be property landowner, can be buyer, seller, can be landlord and tenants.
Yep.
So with I believe with Bank Negara's open communication to the public, then the public will understand the perspective of a more secure kind of doing work with the MIEA people.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think it's a job of the race agent, but the regulator to educate and build awareness with the public. So I guess, major newspapers, advertising out to say, look, this is what we need to do. moving forward, these are important things that, these people need to do. So Encik Anwar, since you're here, maybe it's something that maybe you can speak to your bosses and see whether you all can, spend more money on the PR side, and maybe, I guess to educate the public, build awareness, I totally agree with you, Tony. And that will make your lives easier, and that will help us, get everybody to comply, and yeah.
Yeah, of course we support compliance totally, but the problem is doing daily work and meeting all kinds of customers.
Yep.
And most of these customers have been landlord or been property owners. They are illiterate. They don't care. They just say, no, I can't give you. So that's our hurdle. Hope that the Bank Negara side or the government side can do more awareness, as you say. But what kind of level now that we are facing that the public knows about this? Very low, I believe.
I suppose it's very low. I agree with you. I think that's good that MIEA is bringing on Bank Negara, and then for you guys to voice your concerns and challenges. So very good that MIEA has done that. But I think the risk check portion, you don't need to tell the person you're running risk check. It's only the eKYC portion that you will have trouble getting, which is his IC lah. But that's where the notice needs to go out and inform. I recently sold and rented one of my properties, and the agent actually gave me a document, but she didn't run the KYC with me. So I actually asked her, I said, hey, aren't you supposed to run the KYC? Even the agent was unaware, that she needed to get a copy of my IC.
Yes.
She had a photocopy of AMLA document, and she asked me to sign it, source of funds and everything. But she didn't have, the photocopy of IC taken. So I think that was quite an experience that I had.
Totally agree with you, Mark, especially for those new agents, of course. And definitely Mr. Tan, been the president of MIEA. He has been very supportive, very cooperative, and very informative to us. Definitely we'll support him. He's doing a good job. Hopefully more can be done to enhance this and make sure everybody is on the same page and level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Any more questions, guys? Okay, if you don't have question at this moment, okay, I see some chat here. I think James Tan asked, I think it's very difficult to get selfie of client. Is it okay without selfie? I think there's a question in the chat box.
Yep.
By James. He's asking, is it okay without selfie?
Yeah, I mean, like I think Encik Anwar has actually presented a photograph of IC is also fine. The selfie portion is to keep everything within the system, so that you can store the data. But if you want to keep a photocopy of the IC, that's fine also to actually comply. Then you just run, risk check.
I think that leads to the second question. I hope that James Mark answer your question, because there's a next, I don't know, is there a question or a comment saying that Hello Check only need to state name, but many names are similar. Will not have, why not have IC number too? I think that's what you construct what you say, right?
Yep.
So with the IC is suffice enough, right?
Yep.
Then I think that was by Yat Q Sum, I think. Then I think Hari Haran asked, we have the option. Yeah, I think James is, okay, Hari Haran was saying, where was it?
Yeah, option
why the
search
message
using
is
NRIC or passport as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, I think there's no system out there that, I think even Encik Anwar also recognize, and the regulators recognize, that no system, there will also be a Tan Kian An with the same name out there. And and I'm sure, Kenan, your IC is not outside there in the market, like publicly available. Could be in the black market, but again, there will be same names out there. And there's no system in the world that can actually just say, okay, I run a name screen and I get you, and that's Tan Kian An. So you will need secondary data. So IC is one of them. That's why the IC information is important. Then again, address of the person. So when we capture IC, there's address, there's date of birth as well. So you roughly know the age of the person. Definitely, there's no same Tan Kian An which lives in the same area and same age as you. So definitely, with these secondary data, then you're able to ascertain if this person is who they claim to be. So in our records, yeah, there are many similar names, and it's very common.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Mark. Any more question out there? If there is, please, if you think of any, just feel free to email to MIEA, and we'll pick up those questions and we compile and we will check with that one. Okay, another question just came in by Mark Cherian, is it? Okay, so what are the consequences for failure to comply as an estate agent?
Okay, I think it was presented earlier.
Yeah.
So again, if you get caught,
3 million, is it?
Yeah, up to I think it's up to 3 million ringgit and no more than 5 years jail. So it's safer to screen the person, and that's why we're running this unlimited search, because we want you to have certainty that look, it's only a 200 ringgit investment a month. It's not a get out of jail, but it's to keep you out of jail. If you screen the person, you make sure. So HaloCheck will take on the headache of ensuring that everything is updated. All the data sets, everything is there, sanctions and everything. We store your data. So all these records are done. So if you get audited, then you have all your records in place, rather than keeping it all over the place. Of course, Bank Negara mentioned you can do a manual way of doing it. But of course, we know if you do it manual and you need to keep the record for 6 years. Well, that's crazy to manage that kind of manual process. But that's why we made the simple process of keeping it for our clients.
Okay, Mark.
One last question, Mr. Tan and Mark. Okay, if we follow what Bank Negara taught us and yourself, HaloCheck, and we force the customer to give us all the identity, in the end, would we be facing any legal consequences if, say, the same document were to be breached by other parties rather than us or we as this agent? Would there be any countersuit by customer against us taking their personal data?
Okay, let me share with you a little bit about lawsuits. Lawsuits can happen to anyone. Anybody can sue you for being to do anything but whether he can win in court or not but when you have the backing of Bank Negara to say that this is what the regulator wants, and you're not breaking the law, you're not using his IC for any other purpose or his records for any other purpose, then you're not breaking any laws. So if you have this notice that Bank Negara has presented, I don't see the reason why they would sue you. It would be silly. And one of the things that I recommend a lot of my clients are to actually show them the website that Bank Negara has created, and to share with them, look, if you're not familiar, here's the website. This is the thing that I need to do, so that it backs you up. That look, I'm not just taking your data for fun. This is the regulatory requirement. I can go to jail or get fined. So if I don't get this, I'm in trouble. So I need to get this from you because this is the anti-money laundering requirement.
Yeah, totally agree with you. But still, data are data. We get the information and we use it for HaloCheck and submission, STR, whatever. But then again, data can be obtained by other agent, other organization, and the same data leaks out. And if I'm saying in the scenario, if the customer said you are the one who last get my data, I suspect you to be the one reaching my data. So what is our protection against those that kind of what do you call it, a possible legal action against us.
Unless the client can prove himself that or have evidence that it is you, I don't see why take that action. It is very subjective, this question. Yeah.
Agreed. It's subjective, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
No.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you again.
Okay. I think moving forward, I think if there's no further question, I think there's one thing, just quick one. I think by Kisam, he said, sorry, my remarks not clear when using Hello Chat risk. There should be a column in Hello Chat for us to put IC number. Okay, I think Mark, you can take note of that.
We already have it in our news. We updated the system. We already have IC there as well.
Yep. Okay. If there's no question, I think we would like to thank Mark again for sharing with us. And I think he shared with us the importance of, I like your water filter story, filter your client. And it's not only about compliance. Of course, it's compliance, but also it's good to protect your interest. Like, you check whether this is a genuine client or who they are. Sometimes, especially your tenant, you want to know whether they are blacklisted or not. It's also good for you to do a background check, not only just for the compliance purposes, it's also to protect your interests as well. So don't think of Hello Check is just only for compliance, but it's also helping you to so-called filter and find out more about your profile, your client or your tenant or your buyer, things like that. Okay. Now, thanks again, Mark. I really appreciate your sharing. And we move on to the next session, which is the e-invoicing, something very new to us. I think a lot of you have been waiting for this to know what is it about. And I think we have here with us a representative from LHDN IRB. I think Encik Mohammad Hafiz is here with us. Let me see. Okay, he's on screen. Okay, Encik Mohammad Hafiz. Okay. Welcome, Encik Mohammad Hafiz from LHDN. It's good to have you here. Before I start, just a little bit of introduction about you. I'll do a quick one. I think Encik Mohammad Hafiz from currently is a tax executive officer in Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, LHDN, in the tax operation department. And this is also a part of the LHDN punya e-invoicing team. And I think he is very well versed in all this system invoicing. I think he's a good person to share with us about all these things. Professionally, he holds a degree in accounting. So for an accounting background from MIEA University of Technology from Melaka, or you orang Melaka. And he joined LHDN since May 2014, almost 10 years in LHDN. So as a tax executive officer, I think he's very experienced in doing tax audit with his experience. And also he has been serving in different branches all over Malaysia. And besides that, he also do investigation. He has experience in an investigation in the special operation department. Ni operation department pun dengar pun macam canggih. So I think with his experience, he is the right person to share with us what are the things about e-invoicing that moving forward we should comply. So thank you, Hafiz, for being with us here. I will pass the session to you, Hafiz.
Okay, hi. Apa khabar semua? Hi, thank you very much, Mr. Tan. Mr. Tan sudah buat introduction, so I don't need to introduce myself.
Boleh. You boleh buat introduction lagi canggih punya.
Okay, alright. So again, my name is Mohammad Hafiz. So I'm from IRB under e-invoice team. So basically, today has been invited to share regarding the invoice to all of you. So I think we can start. Okay, all right. So let's move to the slide. Next. Okay, so the agenda have been bring it to. It just to give you the overview of invoice, the journey itself, and why so important now, because it's a national project. I would like trying to emphasize that the importance of this project altogether. Yeah. Roughly the system and the mechanism of what the invoice, what are the general guideline is. So we already published the 2 documents ready in the web, which is general guidelines as well as the specific guidelines. On top of that, also we have FAQ for general and specific industry. And lastly, we are providing support channels to the public. Okay, next. So, e-invoice implementation is in line with the 12th Malaysia Plan. The idea is to focus on the strengthening the digital services infrastructure and digitalizing the tax administration. So, this is the timeline, and the focus is on the Budget 2024 announcement made by Yang Amat Berhormat, our Prime Minister. He said that the government agreed to enforce e-invoicing mandatory to the taxpayer with income exceed 100 million by August 2024. So there was very little and there was a lot of excitement in the market itself asking what exactly it is when more information will come about. Okay, all right, next. Okay, there's no picture over there. Okay, all right, never mind. Try to share these things. Okay, so benefits to taxpayers. So this is actually very much like how we reduce the manual efforts, actual error itself, how we actually have the integration API, all the stuff on how we actually facilitate the tax return. And that's where you notice that some of the system that we are building up has all this integration with e-filing. That streamline operation itself. So how we actually get save time, and you can see it to digitalize financial reporting. So they are just generally high-level benefits for this e-invoice. Okay, next. Thank you. Okay, so
my apologies. Can I just retrieve the file again?
Retrieve, can.
Yeah, because now some of the images are missing. Yeah.
Can. No worries.
Okay, we will wait for a while. Siaran terganggu sikit.
Mr. Tan, okay, Mr. Tan?
Boleh. I think it's something new, and I think we got a lot of questions from our member pasal e-invoicing ni. They will want to know how to comply, macam mana nak buat. Because in real estate firm ni, banyak firm kita ni dia sole proprietor. So proprietor, that means they still use a lot of manual work and their lack of manpower. They bought everything lah solo semua kerja. So they sekarang pun dilema lah nak tahu macam mana nak buat all this thing lah. Hopefully they have some better idea. Nanti kita ada chartered accountant datang pun dia share lah macam mana dia orang boleh comply dengan ni. Okay, the picture is... Okay, over to you again, Hafiz.
Okay, all right. So can we go to the next slide? Okay, all right. So, what is e-invoice? Okay. E-invoice is a digital representation of a transaction between a supplier and buyer. E-invoice replaces traditional paper or electronic documents such as invoices, credit notes, and debit notes. So, validation of e-invoice by IRBM is done instantaneously and to safeguard against data tampering. So, on the screen, as we can see, there are 4 types of e-invoice in transactions. The first 3 is a common documents in current business process. So we have invoice to record the transaction. We have credit notes to actually reduce the value, debit note to increase the value, and refund if it's actually involving monetary terms. Okay, next. So who do we cover? Okay, so basically we cover generally 3 parties. The first one is business to business, business to consumer, and the last one is business to government. So these are the 3 focus area on these e-invoices. Okay, so this one goes back to the announcement made earlier, announcement made by the Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri. The companies exceeding 100 million turnover and full implementation on 1st July 2025. Okay, As you can see, all right, okay, next. Okay, so how we actually break down into the different phases we have in the timeline, which I showed you before. So when we actually share these things, okay, people are very curious, because the time when we engage them, they're asking about, now they know some stuff around the guidelines for the technical portions of, okay. So there will be a pilot phase, and then we have phase 1 on 1st of August, mandatory implementation for taxpayer turnover over 100 million. Okay, the second phase is on the 1st of January 2025, turnover between 25 million to 100 million. And the last phase, mandatory to all the taxpayer on 1st July 2025. Okay. When establishing the implementation timeline for taxpayer, criteria based on this annual income or sales are utilized. For taxpayers with audited financial statement, or we call audited reports, the mandatory determination of the timeline relies on the annual sales or income stated in the audited financial statement for the financial year 2022. In contrast, for taxpayer exempt from submitting audited financial statements, the mandatory determination of the timeline is based on the annual income reported in the declaration form for the assessment year 2022. Okay, for the third case, in case of a change or in the accounting period for the 2022 financial year, the taxpayer's annual sales or income will be prorated to a 12-month period to determine the e-invoice implementation date. So any subsequent changes to annual income or sales will not alter the taxpayer's responsibility to implement e-invoice according to the specified implementation timeline. Okay, so previous slide. Previous slide. Okay, all right. So as you can see on the slide, we are going to use CTC model. So it enables a high-level control through validation of e-invoice data received by income tax, as well as allowing flexibility to taxpayer to decide on their preferred ways to transmit e-invoice data to income tax for near real-time validation. Okay, so to facilitate e-invoice implementation, income tax provides two submission mechanism for validation. Okay, for the first one, for the first mechanism, as you can see, is My Invoice Portal. So this My Invoice Portal is a web application developed by IRBM. So it providing an e-invoice verification accessibility to all taxpayers. This platform equips taxpayer with essential functions, allowing them to issue, send, review, cancel, or reject invoices. So additionally, taxpayers can view and search e-invoice transaction received by IRBM. So through My Invoice Portal, you can do all these things to search the invoice that has been submitted by supplier. So the second one is API, Application Programming Interface. Okay, so API is set of program which enable taxpayer to send e-invoice to IRB through their systems. This mechanism requires an initial technology investment and adaptation to existing systems. So API connection can be established directly with income tax or through a third-party service provider. Taxpayers need to configure integration by setting callbacks and logging into the IRBM API using the digital certificate issued by IRB. So for this two mechanisms, taxpayers are encouraged to conduct an internal assessment to determine the most suitable mechanism for implementing e-invoice based on their business needs. Okay, next. Okay, so these are the following list of 51 data fields that are required to be submitted to IRBM when issuing e-invoice for validation purpose. So the information consists of mandatory and optional information requirements. So in the slide, we can see the blue color is much more for mandatory part, and that the yellow color is an optional field to be completed. Next. So in addition, based on specific cases or circumstances, an annex will be required to be submitted as a part of the e-invoice to IRBM. For example, some of the requirement is applicable to import and export transactions. So this is the part that I think required for the import and export. Some of this is optional, but yet if you are into the business, then this is the mandatory field that have to be completed. Okay, next. Okay. So as I mentioned before, there are two options. So the option A actually more like to the free solution. So my invoice portal is a free solution, which is usually portal, and option B is actually the API that's actually going to the transactions. So this is an overview, and I will provide an explanation on the next slide. Okay, next. Okay. As I mentioned before, income tax offer two options for the taxpayer to transmit e-invoices. So the slide shows the overview of API option. So this one, the second mechanism where taxpayer can transmit directly from their ERP system or through a service provider. Sorry. Be it a PayPal access point or non-PayPal service provider. So we will now proceed to examine this model step by step, exploring into each phases. Okay, next. Okay. Okay, so in very simple way, okay, when we create and submit the invoice, there will be actually invoice that actually going to be issued, and that will be actually just sent to so-called my invoice portal or to the API directly. So this is how we create and submit an e-invoice, either using my invoice portal or using API. Okay, next. Okay. If you actually look into this step 2, once it reach to the IRB, yeah, there will be a validation that's going to be done. They are going to look a few very much the structure validations. Some of the fields as well as looking at some of the code that should be matching. sorry. Okay, sorry. So there's information also such to be take into consideration as per stated inside the specific guidelines. So upon validation, we want to see that some of the mandatory field have to be completed to be on top of what I can say. So validated can be successful when the mandatory field has been completed by the taxpayer. Okay, next. Okay. Okay, so the second step is validation. So once the document or e-invoice has been validated, okay, what will happen is there will be a validation of notifications comes in. You're looking at the notification can come from two angles itself. It is the area itself, okay? So there also be email notification that will be sent out, okay? So there will be two kind of notifications. So as you can see, the notification will be by my invoice portal, API, and the email itself. Okay, next. Okay. Sorry. Okay. It is responsibility for the supplier to share the invoice. Okay. And what we have asked again in the part of the change in their process is there will be a confirmation code, okay, or link that can actually tie up to the IRBM website to be able to see the validated so-called invoice. So that we are asking supplier to actually put it as a QR code. So when they receive the validation code, unique code, we said before, unique code. So they have to transform it to the QR code and put into the statement itself or receipts or invoices. Okay, next. Okay. Step 5, 6, 7. Okay. Talks about the rejection and cancellation. So IRBM give you 72 hours to actually do any sort of cancellations. And they do the cancellations means that you don't have to go through the step of creating a credit note because you want to cancel. So you can generally get one top in the system, and then you can submit with the same invoice, same e-invoice. No, otherwise it will be duplicates. So alternately, if you don't use this 72 hours, you can just go with the credit notes as usual. Okay. So sorry, can I get a drink first?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, while we are waiting for Hafiz, if you have any questions, you guys can type into the chat box, or maybe after the session you can just unmute your mic and ask him directly lah. I'm sure that you all will have some questions about this e-invoicing thing, especially how is it going to relate to our practice especially. So please take the opportunity to engage with them, and whatever questions, please ask, because maybe your questions will also benefit some of us, because we might not know what to ask also, but since you all ask something, then we learn something from there. So I hope you all can type in the chat box, or put it in I mean, when you can voice out later on, or if worst case scenario, if you cannot think of anything, you can always email MIEA, and MIEA will compile your questions, and we will ask clarification from IRB. Yeah, so while we wait for Encik Hafiz.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
Ada batuk-batuk sikit lah.
Okay.
Okay, alright.
Boleh, kan? Tadi I
okay.
entertain dia orang sekejap. Now back to you.
Alright, thank you very much, Mr. Tan. Okay, so we are going to this step 8. Step 8, storing e-invoice by IRBM. So the data of all submitted invoice will be securely stored in the IRBM database. So the taxpayer are advised to maintain adequate records and documentation related to the transaction. So based on this slide, we can see that all the data will be storing into our IRBM database from IRBM Cloud. Okay, all right, so next. Okay. Then there is a dashboarding and reporting services. Okay, so there are step 9 if they want to see what's inside there. So both the suppliers and buyer will have the option to request and retrieve e-invoice data in various formats, including XML, JSON. We have metadata, CSV report, grid, or PDF file. Sorry, PDF file. Okay. So through this both mechanism, you may retrieve your e-invoice from both parties. Yeah, supplier and buyer can request a retrieve invoice from this storage. Okay, so right, next. Okay. So now we will explore into the specific guideline that has been published by IRBM. These guidelines serve as a comprehensive roadmap, providing guidance on the issuance of e-invoice across 13 key factors, as shown in the slide. So as we proceed, we will navigate through each of these areas, gaining insights and clarify on the crucial aspect outlined by income tax. Okay, next. So, in this scenario itself, for this slide 23, they are talking about the supplier on certain industries. We actually allow them to consolidate the invoices, or we call e-invoice. So depending on the users of, if they don't require at the e-invoice, what happens is they can go through a consolidation process. However, if the user require invoice, then they will actually go through the upper flow itself. Okay. All right. Okay. So, okay, individual buyer have the option to provide either their TIN number or MyCard number. So if an individual buyer provides either their TIN or MyCard number, the supplier can input the data inside the invoice. The first one is a general public identification number. So the TIN number, okay, the first one. And the second one, we can go for the identification number. So either or. So if the buyer cannot provide both, they can provide either TIN number or they can provide MyCard number. Both is accepted for the implementation of e-invoices. Okay. So as you can see, sorry. Okay, as you can see, so if the buyer just supply the details to the supplier, only the identification number. So as you can see, the buyer TIN will be as general TIN number. So EI 000010 for this one, for the general TIN numbers. So basically, if the buyer don't have their own TIN number, didn't or forget their TIN number, just provide the supplier with the your IC number. Okay, next. Okay. Right. So in case where the buyer does not require an e-invoice, so the seller has the flexibility to submit a receipt or any other documents following the current business practice. Okay, since the document is not classified as an e-invoice, there is no requirement. There is no requirement to submit it to IRBM. Okay, so for buyer who do not request for e-invoice during the transaction, they retain the option to request one from the seller in the month subsequent to the transaction. So, however, within 7 days from the end of that month, the seller must issue a consolidated e-invoice. This consolidated e-invoice combines all receipts, bills, and invoices for transactions that did not receive e-invoice and undergo validation by IRBM. So, seller can issue consolidated e-invoice according to the existing business practice or based on business needs. For instance, I think seller can adopt either method by issuing an e-invoice based on the summary of each receipt as separate lines item or a single line items. Okay, next. Okay. So on this slide 26, it is a list of the activities actually require e-invoice for all transactions. That's where the one that cannot be consolidated. So as we can see, automotive, aviation, luxury goods and jewelry, construction, wholesaler and retailers of construction materials, licensed betting and gaming, and payment to ADD, agents, dealer and distribution. So these activities, you have to issue e-invoice for each transaction. Cannot be consoled to many transactions to one consolidated e-invoices. Okay, next. Okay. This slide mention, okay, statement and bills. Okay, so also basically can be considered as a e-invoice. So as you can see, issuance of e-invoice to buyer. So e-invoice created and submitted to IBM would only be limited to income and expense of supplier. So upon IBM validation, businesses are allowed to convert the validated e-invoice, XML, JSON format, into visual presentation in the form of statements or bills before sharing with the buyers. So issuance of e-invoice is in accordance with current issuance frequency of respective businesses. So for the purpose of issuance of consolidated e-invoice, business are allowed to aggregate statement or bills where no e-invoice is required by buyer to issue consolidated e-invoice in accordance with current issuance within 7 calendar days after the end of billing period. Okay, next. All right. Okay. So the disbursement and reimbursement. Okay. Is generally how the transaction between multiple parties. Okay. This is another scenario of how different parties will work together. But in short, there will be still parties that will actually be required to issue e-invoice. It's going to be either supplier directly to the buyer or supplier to the supplier or to the intermediary, and how it actually works. So for the disbursement part, as you can see, I think the example is this. Supplier 1 will issue an e-invoice directly to the buyer. Subsequently, supplier 2 will issue an e-invoice to the buyer for the goods supplied or services rendered by supplier 2 to buyer. So supplier 2 should neither include the payment on behalf of buyer in supplier 2's e-invoice, nor issue an additional e-invoice to recover the amount paid on behalf of buyer to supplier 1. So for scenario 2, for the reimbursement part, supplier 1 will issue an e-invoice to supplier 2. Subsequently, supplier 2 will issue an e-invoice to the buyer to record the amount incurred on behalf of buyer alongside the goods sold or services rendered by supplier 2. Okay, next. Okay. All right. Okay, then there is a bit of exemptions. This talks about because of certain expenses as well as benefits, that's actually going to be difficult to issuing on the employee's name self. So we give a concession on the issuance of e-invoice to the employee. So business or employees will be allowed to use e-invoice issued in the name of employee for proof of expense. So foreign supplier bills or receipt will be accepted as proof of expenses. So no self-bill invoice required for proof of expenses in the event where when the employees paid for the expense incurred overseas, and for payments to foreign suppliers if prerequisite and benefits are stated in the employee's policy. So below is the example of employment prerequisite and benefits and expenses incurred by employee on behalf of the employer. Okay, so the employer itself can issue self-bill in the name of their employee as a proof of expenses, as long as the employer can justify that the expenses that been done by the employee in the side of the employer part. Okay. Next. Okay. So then, as you can see, then this is the treatment of self-bill e-invoice. Okay. So on certain situation itself, you might not be able to get an invoice from the relevant party from a supplier. Okay. For example, suppliers overseas. Okay. So these are some of the situations. So these are some of the situations that actually listed out to actually be able to generate your own e-invoice. So I'm a buyer, generate my own invoice to actually record the expenses. Okay. So this is the table that we've made. So as you can see, there's a supplier and buyer. But for these 6 activities, buyer will assume the role of supplier to be issuer of e-invoice. So ultimately, before this, supplier must issue an e-invoice to the buyer. But on these 6 situation, or on these 6 activities, buyer can issue an self-bill invoice to the supplier. So the buyer will take the role of the supplier, so to issue the self-bill invoice. Okay, next. Okay. And then the next, this one is actually talking about the payments in monetary form to agents, dealers, and distributors. Okay, so this one is just another scenario itself. So, so at the end of the day, there will still be an invoice that's going to be generated by either parties. So as you can see, issuance of e-invoice upon request, or normal invoice from seller to purchaser. Okay. Cross-border transactions. This one, as I mentioned before, that they will actually be doing self-bill e-invoice. So cross-border transaction, upon receiving the invoice or receipt or bill from the foreign seller, the Malaysian purchaser assume the supplier role and issue a self-bill e-invoice to document the expense for tax purpose. Okay, sorry, wait. Okay, so Malaysian purchaser may extract the details of the foreign seller from the invoice or receipt or bill issued by a foreign seller, or request for the relevant details from the foreign seller. So on the other part, for the foreign income, all foreign income received in Malaysia from outside of Malaysia requires an e-invoice for tax purposes. Recipient of foreign income will assume the role of supplier and issue an invoice to person who makes payment to recipient. So the Malaysian seller is required to issue the e-invoice latest by the end of the month following the month of receipt of the said foreign income. Okay, next. Okay, right. So in the current situation, companies typically distribute profits to shareholders using methods such as dividend warrants or dividend vouchers. So under the e-invoice implementation, companies that do not meet the criteria for tax deduction outlined in Section 108 of the Income Tax Act 1967, and the taxpayer listed on Bursa Malaysia are exempted from issuing e-invoice for self-bills related to dividend distribution. Consequently, shareholders are not obligated to generate e-invoice for the purpose of income verification. So it's important to note that this exemption will be reviewed from time to time. So hence taxpayer falling under these exemptions can adhere to their existing processes for profit distribution, whereby the supplier is the recipient of the distribution, and whereas the buyer is the taxpayer responsible for making distribution. Okay, next. Okay, exchange rate also, I think this is more, a lot of people asking which exchange rate for us. You just take whatever that is actually accepted and then store it into the system with the right currency rate as well. Okay, next. Okay. Okay, moving on, we will discuss the overview of the API components for taxpayer reference, which includes the first one, API flow. The second one is validation logic flow. And the third one is the data structure or data dictionary, sorry. So starting with the API flow, it involves several key steps. Initially, the login API is utilized to authenticate the taxpayer registered system, leveraging the client's ID as secret key retrieved from My Invoice portal or My Invoice profile. So once authenticated, the taxpayer is issued an access token, granting access to the protected API. E-invoices submitted in XML or JSON format. And then we'll undergo verification through the API. So following successful verification, the buyer receives a notification via the API and can choose to request a rejection within 72 hours. So taxpayer also have the flexibility to cancel the e-invoice via API within the same time frame. And if no action is taken, the e-invoice remains valid. Okay, so validation logic flow. Okay, the My Invoice system conducts a series of checks to ensure that the XML or JSON file aligns with the e-invoice format, structure, and data standards. This process includes 3 types of validation rules: syntax validations, schema validations, and validations of business rules. Okay, so lastly, exploring the data structure or data dictionary. So the My Invoice system is adept at handling text and character data, utilizing the UTF-8 character encoding standard. So detailed guidance is provided on essential data fields, on data type, maximum length, validation criteria, and examples. Okay, so next. Okay. So, okay. So one of the primary aspects given priority by income tax is to ensure the security of data and systems. So the following are the requirements and practice implemented to safeguard the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data and My Invoice system transaction. So beginning with authentication and authenticity, a unique identifier is mandated to facilitate various actions such as sending, receiving, and requesting within the systems. Okay, so moving on to the data encryption. Okay, the API communication between suppliers and invoices is secured through encryption using standard TLF encryption protocol. So it's called HTTPS. Okay, so furthermore, critical data stored in the My Invoice portal is encrypted using the industry standard AES algorithm. So both data transmission and reception to the IRB ICT security policy and the general circular letter. So the guidelines for information management through cloud computing in public services. Okay, so the last one, we have 2 policies in place. I think we just need to make sure that everyone's followed these 2 policies. Okay, next. Okay. So to kickstart on the e-invoice transition journey, it is crucial for taxpayer to familiarize themselves with both the general and specific guidelines governing e-invoice. So in the change of management, proactive communication plays I think a very, very crucial role. So we encourage the taxpayer to engage with key stakeholders such as the suppliers, and then the customers, the technology providers, and internal staff. So the collaborative approach, I think, to ensure a smooth transition and faster shared understanding of the changes ahead. So furthermore, it is imperative for taxpayer to conduct a thorough assessment of organizational readiness for e-invoicing. So this involves allocating the resources and providing necessary training to personnel. So evaluate data source and IT capabilities and reviewing existing process to align with the requisite requirement and obligations. By addressing these aspects, taxpayer can better position themselves for a successful integration of e-invoice practices. Okay, next. Okay. So in preparing for the implementation of e-invoice, so there are three main stages in the e-invoice journey. Okay, the first one is preparation. So the second one is testing, and the third one is pilot go live. Okay, so in the preparation phases, it's essential, I think, for taxpayer to establish a dedicated team or task force for seamless implementation. So this involves a comprehensive review of all relevant informations. Okay, so in the testing phase, taxpayer should execute a detailed testing plan covering, I think, various scenario in a controlled sandbox environment. Documenting test results, internal validation against the IRBM system, and reviewing and updating internal workflows. Okay, so finally, in the go live phase, okay, sorry. So in the go live phase, effective communication with stakeholders is essential. So I think continuous monitoring of the invoice system, so a regular updates and maintenance of ERP data, ongoing reviews and refinements of invoicing processes ensure both smooth operation and compliance. Okay, next. Okay. Okay, on this slide 39, so the budget 2024 introduced step incentive and grants to support the digitalization and implementation of e-invoice. Okay, firstly, the government allocates 100 million to provide digitalization grants up to 5,000 for SME and micro entrepreneurs, so they aim to enhance competitiveness, okay, through automation. So this grant can be utilized for upgrading sales, inventory, and digital accounting systems. Okay, secondly, to boost competitiveness. So the government proposed a reduction in the capital allowance claim period for ICT equipment, computer software packages, and related fees from 4 to 3 years, starting from the assessment year 2024. And then thirdly, tax deduction for expenses related to the environmental, social, and governance. Initiatives are capped at 50K per year for PMKS or MSME, okay, implementing invoice from the assessment year 2024 to 2027. Okay, next. Okay, so these are the 4 key avenues to provide support to the taxpayer. So currently we have the first one is e-invoice microsite. I think you can try to surf the internet and try to find this e-invoice details or invoice information in our microsites. So inside microsite we have the second and the third documents. There is e-invoice general guidelines that has been published on 21st July 2023. So updated version on 28 October. And the second one is e-invoice specific guideline lah. So e-invoice specific guideline, I think we have touched that on the previous slide. So this one also has been published in our website and has been updated on 28 October 2023. Okay, and the last part is technical software development kit. So currently we are in the final stage or final phase on completing this software. So I think we will be ready to release the SDK I think around this month. We try by before end of this month. Okay, so I think this is quite a lot of questions regarding the SDK. So industry player keep on asking when will SDK will be released, when will SDK will be released. So yeah, I think as soon as possible, I think we can try to to execute, or we can try to publish it by this month. Okay, hopefully by this month. Okay, all right. Okay, next. Okay, so as I conclude the presentation, for any question or feedback you may have, please feel free to reach out via this our email, myinvoice@hasil.gov.my. So, okay, before I end my presentation, I hope that this presentation has provided a valuable insight and clarification on the implementation of invoice. So I hope the transition to e-invoice will be well received and receive a positive response from all the participants, so as well as the broader Malaysian community. So I think that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Encik Muhammad Hafiz. Guys, you have any question to ask? Please unmute your mic and ask now. I think 5 o'clock pun semua mengantuk sudah. Any questions? Okay, as I said, if there's no question, you can either type in the box. I don't see any question in the chat box, or you can, yeah, you can voice out. If don't have, you can compile. I think, is there anyone on here? No. Okay, if that question, I think I hope you all will take some time to digest whatever is being presented. I know it's something new, and it may or may not affect some of you lah, but looking at it, the deadline July next year, I think everyone will kena already. This year is only 100 million above kan.
Next year is mandatory to all the business in Malaysia.
By July 2025 lah.
Yes, by July.
But phase 1 is only 100 million for business turnover above 1 million kan.
Yes, betul.
Okay, so by July next year semua kena lah, semua kena comply lah.
I think inside this member achieve 100 million. Ada achieve 100 million.
Ada some firms, yes, like I said, some so-prop dia tak sampai 100 million lah. So maybe not now lah, but maybe July pun kena.
Okay, Mr. Tan, it's like this lah. I think for the so-prop part, I think on the documentation wise lah, I think there's a lot of question regarding the documentation wise on the invoice. So members can feel free to ask. I think you just send. I think you can.
Is there a hotline ke macam mana that we all can contact?
Currently, we are developing the help desk lah. Okay, one. Okay. So tapi kita ada satu ini my invoice tadi, yang email tadi. So I've notified Wailing. I think Wailing. Yeah. So I notify Wailing. If there is any question, you can compile the questions and send to me. So then I try my best to answer all the question and send back the feedback to the Wailing or to your association.
Yeah, I think yeah, boleh. But sometimes if you have any questions macam PNC, you nak tanya terus to LHDN, you can scan this QR and you can connect with them directly lah. Okay, I think tak ada question. Then tak ada question. I would like to thank Cik Muhammad Hafiz on behalf of MIEA. Thank you again for sharing with us. We hope you can, I mean, there's some information there lah, then we will So thank you very much, Hafiz. Really appreciate your time. So next we move on to, I think, let me see. Okay. Wait. Oh, okay, she's in already. Okay, Miss Kong. Okay, Miss Kong. I think our partner Adrian Yeo. I think she's a chartered accountant now. Before we start, I think let me just do a quick introduction of Miss Kong. I think Adrian Yeo Chartered Accountants has been with is one of been with MIEA for quite some time, and I think Miss Kong has been. Is one of their with Adrian Yeo as well. She's I think she's one of the partner in Adrian Yeo, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, she's an experienced partner. Yeah, I think she's her background is basically history is working in the accounting industry, and of course her specialty is in more on tax preparation in corporate finances. accounting, income tax, and also internal controls. So I think that experience is very helpful for her to share her experience. Of course, professionally, she has a strong entrepreneurship where she graduated from University of Nottingham in the MBA, in the Master of Business Admin. And of course, her specialty is accounting, accounts or something like, which I'm not very familiar. So I think she will be the right person to talk to, and she will be able to advise or share with you some insights of what to expect, and what to comply in terms of e-invoice. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to type in the chat box, or you can ask her after the session. So without further ado, Ms. Kong, I hand the session over to you, Ms. Kong.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tan. Let me just share my screen.
Sure. Okay, all good. We can see your slide.
Can okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my slide, my second page?
If you can put in a presentation mode, will be better. Then we can see your full screen.
Yeah, I'm
presentation
trying
mode.
to
Yep.
see where is the presentation. Oh yeah, okay. All right, is that better?
Yes, wonderful. We can hear and see you loud and clear.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Tan. Just now, Mr. Tan has given an extensive intro of myself. Basically, Adrian Yeo has been around for 29 years. And as for myself, I have had about 35 years of career in accounting, finance, operation, HR, as well as system and internal control. Currently, I'm a licensed auditor and I head the operation of Adrian Yeo Group, position that I have held 21 years. Okay. So just briefly to run through what the real estate business will need to do to get themselves ready for e-invoice. Basically, if you are a large agency firm with annual revenue of 100 million, your deadline to start is this year, 1st August 2024. And if you are a mid-size agency with more than 25 million, you basically have to start at the beginning of next year. And for the rest, the real estate negotiator and the smaller Sendirian Berhad or agency firm, it's 1st July. So that is the deadline that we're looking at. And to be more specific, what are the transactions that the main transaction that is involved with an agency firm, I would think is the commission that you need to charge your customer, which is basically the seller or the owner or the landlord, where your agent managed to secure the deal. Okay. So when the agent secure the deal, basically, I guess they would fill up the booking slip and pass to the agency office. And once the booking slip is signed by both parties, the buyer and the seller, and of course the buyer pays the 2%, then it goes to the next stage. It goes to the lawyer to prepare the S&P. Meanwhile, as far as the agency is concerned, then you need to issue an e-invoice for the commission that you are going to charge to the seller or the landlord. And after that, after you got the commission received from the owner, you then also have to pay the agent his portion of the commission. And in this case, you will need to issue a self-billed e-invoice because agent payments to agent is under one of the 7 activities which was highlighted by Encik Hafiz just now. Agent commission, you need to pay issue e-invoice, but of course you have to do an e-invoice because the agent is not going to issue an e-invoice to you, but and so therefore the agency company has to issue the e-invoice, the self-bill e-invoice. All right. And the next thing you may be wondering, when should then the seller issue the e-invoice to the buyer? Because it can be an individual selling to an individual, or it can be a company selling the property to an individual, or an individual selling the property to a company. So depending on what is the scenario, if let's say the seller is a company and selling to a buyer is an individual, then the seller would need to issue an e-invoice, right? If it's an individual who is selling the property to a company, a Sendirian Berhad, then obviously the individual is not in business. He will not be required to issue any e-invoice. So therefore, the company who is the buyer will then have to issue themselves a self-billing e-invoice. All right. So when are you supposed to issue them? On let's say this example, on 1st August 2024, the buyer signed the booking form and paid the 2%. All right. And you are given 14 days. The lawyer prepared the SPA. And then on the 14th of August, the buyer signed the SPA and he paid the remaining 8%. And then after that, the lawyer goes to the stamp office to do the stamping, and assuming that this was done on 1st September, that is when the buyer should issue the e-invoice. Or if the buyer is an individual and the seller is a company, then the buyer, which is a company, will have to issue a self-bill e-invoice, right? So basically this is when the timing, when you need to issue e-invoice for a property transaction, right? So as an agency, what action do you need to take now? All right, so what impact of e-invoice on the real estate business? I think firstly, now is the best time to upgrade or enhance your accounting system or your ERP system. Firstly, you want to have better efficiency with automation and smooth process so that you reduce the paperwork. I believe in the real estate business, the agent themselves fill up the booking slip, which is all manually written down and then manually submitted to the agency. And then the agency, I don't know what you do with the booking slip. Most likely you have a few ply, and then the agent keep one copy and you keep one copy. And then you give the buyer or the, one copy and the seller one copy. So these are all very manual process, lots of paperwork involved. But if you upgrade your system to embrace more automation, you may have an application that your booking slip is become online, and you don't need to have all this paperwork, and that makes your whole booking process more efficient, right? So now is the best time, I would think, if you're still using the manual way. And as just now Encik Hafiz pointed out, there are grants and there are soft loans available for you to enhance your accounting system. And also the third one, which is the ESG issue, the environmental, social, and governance, which of course that is another topic, but I think it's also coincide nicely with enhancing or upgrading the accounting system, because this is all in line with our government initiative to be more environmental friendly, socially, and governance issue, to make the whole, you know, environment more acceptable. Okay, and of course, in terms of tax incentive, there is accelerated capital allowance from 4 years reduced to 3 years. You can claim the tax incentive or on the system, the cost that you have incurred on upgrading the system, as well as there is tax deduction of up to 50,000 for each YA, year of assessment, on your ESG related expenditure, which includes the e-invoice. Okay, and then secondly, of course, you need to ensure that all your agents or negotiators have TIN numbers, their tax identification number. I think some of the new agents, the very young fresh graduates, you know, who just joined you, they might not have income tax number. They need to get, basically, they need to get a TIN number, because you need to have their TIN number when you pay them their commission. Okay, and the next thing, of course, you need to give your staff the training to ensure smooth operation, and to be aware that you cannot basically backdate or post-date your transactions, because once you created the e-invoice, that's it. You don't want to keep going back to the system to issue credit notes, debit notes, all these things. It might, if you do it too frequent, I think you're asking for trouble. Like the IRB or the LHDN might, adjusting your transactions. Okay, and then next thing is your company expenses incurred by directors or staff. Sometimes you need your staff to go to E-Mart or to buy Giant or wherever to buy some things for the company, or your directors also incurred some expenses that is on behalf of the company. They need to be aware that they need to obtain e-invoice under the company's name and the TIN number, under the company's TIN number, so that you make the whole process seamless. Because if the director forgot to have the company name and TIN number for the supplier, or the, say, like the restaurants or the stationaries that he buy from popular bookstore or things like that, and then he claim it and there is no e-invoice that is issued to the company, then it involves the whole process of reconciliation. So that is a bit messy, I would think. To make it smooth, staff and directors should understand that they need to obtain e-invoice in the company's name. So that involves some training and awareness for them. Similarly with staff claims as well. When they claim back the expenses, they should have the company TIN number. So these are basically the 6 items, the 6 steps that you need to take note of, right? As for our services available for e-invoicing implementation and support, firstly, we are reseller for accounting software, which requirements, and we also am able to sell cloud solutions for better efficiency for e-invoice transactions. And then we also provide consultancy services for implementation of e-invoicing. Next thing is we can give in-house training for e-invoicing implementation. And last but not least, we can provide accounting services with efficient procedure for e-invoicing requirements. At the moment, we have 12 managers and directors who are speakers or project managers or consultants for e-invoicing. So they are, have been trained to in e-invoicing, and they have had some experience during GST time in implementing GST. And so now with e-invoicing, I think it's a more straightforward process, unlike GST. But yeah, we have that experience. So in a very simplified view, how our accounting outsourcing can cater to the e-invoicing regime. Okay, for example, let's say you engage us to do the accounting work for you. Then your office, when you need to issue an e-invoice, you request it through the either internet, the cloud system, or you request through email that you need to issue an e-invoice. Then from there, the accounting system would do a validation and then link to the LHDN e-invoice system via the API. And once the LHDN done the validation, immediately is sent back to the accounting system, and then you at the office will receive the e-invoice which is issued by the LHDN. Okay, and then from there, the accounting system would have stored that transactions as an e-invoice issued. So there is a seamless flow of transaction. There is no requirement to do a manual reconciliation again if you use this method. Okay, unlike if you choose to use the other method of my invoice, that means you manually key in to the LHDN using their my invoice system instead of using the accounting software. You would need to then inform us that you have done the e-invoice, and we need to reconcile all your e-invoices into or re-key in the e-invoice into the accounting system. So to me, that is not very efficient. It involves manual reconciliation and things like that. So my own preference is you use a software system, accounting system that is compliant with, that is e-invoice enabled, rather than a system that, you have to do manual reconciliation and you get all messed up at the end of the day, right? So in a very simple scenario, this is how we can support in terms of providing accounting services that cater to e-invoice. So our server, first thing is our server, we have 3 backups, real-time online backup. First one is the mirror server. If let's say the main server conked out or whatever, for whatever reason, it can immediately go to the mirror server and the data are still there. And then we have a cloud backup as well in the cloud. And then we have a third backup through the Google Drive. Okay, the Google Drive cloud. So it's very secure, and we also have firewall to ensure all the there's no hackers and things like that. So the data are secure and proper backup to ensure that you don't lose the data, right? So that is how we can cater to the accounting under the e-invoice regime. In terms of implementation during GST era, we are advisor for 18 large companies with sales above 50 million. This industry are mainly in manufacturing, engineering, aircraft maintenance, telecommunication, electrical stores. You can see some of the logo here. Airbus was our client for GST implementation. Many of you would have sat in an Airbus aeroplane without knowing. Could be AirAsia, could be Malaysia Airline using Airbus. Okay. We were also the advisor to Rate 1. Many of us use Maxis or DG, but some of us use Rate 1 for our mobile. Best Denki, I think some of you have seen Best Denki in One Utama and some other complex, shopping complex. So yeah, these are all the clients that we had for GST implementation. So we are ready to help companies, large to small, for this e-invoice implementation. In terms of the SME environment, we have also sold hundreds of accounting systems. Basically, we are reseller for SQL, which is ready for e-invoice is ready. So we are on standby to help all our SQL accounting clients to basically go onto the e-invoicing platform. Okay. And that's it for my talk. If you have any queries, you can contact any one of my three pretty ladies here, Annie, Cindy, or Teresa, for any information. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jing Yee or Miss Kong for the sharing with us on the what they call the process or whatever. I think, yeah, I think it's very useful for us to understand how is it impacting the real estate, because I think Mohammad Hafiz shared in general, but you know, and you share with us how is it going to affect us. So guys, is there any questions for Miss Kong that you all would like to ask? I think maybe Jing Yee, you can share the last slide where there's a QR code there. Maybe some of them may miss out. So if you all have any questions, please feel free to unmute your mic or put in a chat box. I think there's one question in the chat box. If you all feel shy to ask now, you can always, I think just put, you can always ask any of them, Cindy, Teresa, Annie, and their phone number is all there. Okay, Jing Yee, I saw there's a question there. James asked, did SQL accounting software support real estate? This one you have to help me. I also don't understand. So James asked, did SQL accounting software?
I think there are a number of agents, not agents, agency that is using SQL accounting system. I think MIEA yourself are also using SQL.
Correct. We are using SQL. So to answer your question, James Yim, yes, it does. Right. Okay. Anyone else? Any question? You can unmute your mic or type in the chat box. Or if you have any question, you can send to MIEA, or you can actually contact Adrian and Yeo, you know, Annie, Cindy, or Teresa, as you can see in your slide there. So yeah, so I hope you all have a better understanding. If I know some of you are negotiator here, if your principal or your finance department, you know, is struggling or having uncertainty, I think you can always feel free to check with Adrian and Yeo. They are our chartered accountant, and I think they do a lot of real estate transactions. So like what Jing Yee or Miss Kong just mentioned, they are well versed in the real estate transaction, and they know what kind of work we do, what kind of transaction we go through. So it's easier because they understand what we do. So it would be good if you can get their advice on real estate matters, right? So any question? If there's no question, I would like to thank you, Ms. Kong, for your time. You know, time off for sharing with us. And I think there are this preliminary information. I hope our members here will get in touch with you to get more information on that. So for that, I think we will wrap up the session. I just want to thank all the four speakers from Bank Negara, Encik Mohammad Anwar. We have Hello Check Mark. Then I think Encik Mohammad Hafiz from what do you call LHDN, and also yourself, Jing Yee or Miss Kong from Adrian Yeo, sorry, for sharing with us. If there's no question, I would like to thank all of you again. And hopefully we'll see you again. Keep in touch with MIEA. We also, if you're not in a Telegram group, please join the Telegram group. We'll have all these type of talks, free talks for all you every month. So keep in touch with us and follow us on Facebook as well. And a little bit of commercial. We are having our MAREC, Malaysia Annual Real Estate Convention yearly. I think later on, I'm not sure why link can show. Okay, I'll just share the link here. You can go to this, what do you call, link. I'll share the link here. So you all can go to, you know, this website and, okay, let me see. Yeah. Yeah, so I've shared the link here. MAREC will be happening this one on the 6th and 7th of what do you call March, whereby those of you who have not renewed your authority of practice where you need CPD points, your deadline is 31st March for PEAs and REAs. This MAREC will have 10 points. So if you have not have any CPD points, you are encouraged to attend this MAREC. Go to this website and have a look at it, things like that. Okay, so yeah, we will wrap up the session and we'll call it a day. And for those of you who are celebrating Chinese New Year, I would like to wish all of you a happy Chinese New Year. And we look forward to see you in our next program. Thank you very much. And there's a survey, I think evaluation form shared out there. Please let us know what are the things you hope we can improve, or what are the things that you like, and also what are the things you would like us to share, what are the things you would like to hear more in future. Then at least we know what kind of a topic we can have in future. So again, everyone, enjoy your Chinese New Year, and also those of you who are not celebrating, have a good holiday, and those of you who are traveling, have a safe journey, and see you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, Wai Ling, back to you, Wai Ling.
Hey, thank you, everyone. I think there's some issues with the post. I couldn't get the result, and also there are a few others. I couldn't send. I will send the survey later on via the email.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe you can send to them. Basically, yeah, we want to hear what are the topics they want in future.
Yes.
So thanks a lot, Wai Ling.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
see you guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah, happy Chinese New Year to all.